something that, excuse me. All right, so you're in school, right? If a girl, my opinion, well, and I think maybe I've seen this opinion, I think that language is the greatest thing that human beings have ever invented.
How could you eat?
That is interesting. Hey, you guys, you ever heard of Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast.
No, I haven't. Is it free?
Yes, it is.
But are there creation tools that allow you to edit it on your phone or computer?
Yeah, there are.
But is there a way that we can spread this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast?
Yeah, it does it for you. It allows you to make money with minimum listenership.
So if you haven't already, go to the Anchor app or anchor.fm to get started.
What they said.
Today everyone was wearing their mask, you know what I'm saying? They didn't have to do that, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't a...
I'm glad to know that because, you know, it's just a little, not a little concerning. It's very concerning.
It's very concerning, yeah, indeed.
All right, well, let's get into it.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode 15 of Bridging the Gap. I'm Bill.
I'm Shy.
Scooby the motherfucking kid.
I'm Chef Matt.
And again, we are here talking about psychology. What's on your mind? But before we get into all that, we're going to get into a little socials, I guess, where we can find each other. You can find me at Bill Perry Jr.
You can find me at Cheryl Shy Perry.
At Scooby the Kid 252 on all social media platforms and at Scooby space DA space KID on Spotify and iTunes.
I'm Chef Matt 1523 on everything.
Can we get into like if Bill would have came up to you and was like, "What's on your mind?" That would be some creepy shit.
Oh, and we are so happy to have Shy. I forgot I have to do this one little thing that's in concern with that's connected to her nickname. Rodine. She came to bring the pain hardcore to the brain. She's a lost member of Wu-Tang Clan. That's what has to be known. You know, Meth, y'all don't be leaving her out. Y'all know she's that lost member.
For a second, I've been a lost member of BTG, but now I'm
Oh, yeah, she's found. Now we just got to connect to the Wu-Tang, you know. All right, so, but yeah, so what's up, man?
I get into the wellness. How's everybody doing this week? It's been just about a week since we shot last episode. So how's everybody doing?
I'll keep mine short this time. I'm just gonna say I'm doing better.
I'm doing well. I guess I'll keep mine short because, yeah.
Shit, like, I'm sad at what's going on in the world. I ain't gonna keep mine short, you know what I'm saying? And I'm excited, though, for, like, hopefully everybody coming together for a brighter future. I know it's, like, doesn't seem like it's possible right now, but, you know, have some hope out there, you know, through all your downfalls and everything that's going on right now. Make sure y'all, you know, take a second and maybe watch a funny movie and laugh a little bit and look at things on the bright side with all this darkness that's going on. You know, me, I'm kicking shit.
I'm doing good. Man, worked hard by this guy. We shot, 4 music videos today, coming out throughout the back 6 months.
Not today.
Yeah, not today.
Yeah, we shot a whole bunch of videos.
Don't be capital, man.
But I want to go ahead and jump into something a little special. Our contest has ended. I got the winners right here on my computer.
Oh, God. And the winner is...
The winner of the hip hop is Dreadlock Rasta.
I'm gonna tell you one day it ain't even happened.
Dreadlock Rasta, congratulations.
So you won.
Let him know what he won.
So you want a music video, excuse me, I'm getting fucking damn tongue-tied. A music video, a song studio session with a beat, and that's an amazing opportunity for, you know, artists out here. You know, so next time we do this contest, make sure y'all hop in it and you can really win one, because you see we're actually giving out shit, you know what I'm saying? We're not capping.
Our gaming category, Mackin' for You Zombies won that.
Mackin' for You
Zombies. And I heard of that guy, he kind of sucks, man.
So you will be getting a gift
Very
card.
good.
And now
And then
the
our art contest, and all of these clips will be shown on the screen. Ultimate N 777 with his colored pencil art, I believe is what it is. He didn't put the medium in his
Ultimate N 777.
Yep.
All right. Well, congratulations to you, man. Indeed.
Yeah. So we got that $25 gift card coming out, and we got the, is it 15 or 25?
It's 15.
$15 gift card and the pack of colored pencils coming to you.
No doubt, some art swag for you, man.
Hit us up in the DMs with the address.
now I want to get into a little bit of news. SpaceX launched their first astronaut into space, which is a huge kind of jump for them because they're, America's kind of racing America to the moon again. It's
Yeah,
kind of
like SpaceX versus NASA.
yeah.
Yeah.
SpaceX gonna win, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. And then, some other stuff happened, which I'm going to let Bill
Well,
jump into.
of course, we all know about the George Floyd situation there in Minneapolis, and they're, it's very volatile there. There's riots going on throughout the whole nation. There's too many cities to mention, but between that, and Breonna Taylor, and just all kind of numerous names and incidences like in Central Park, we're all at the precipice of feeling some sort of paradigm shift right now and trying to figure our way through it. I know I did say earlier that I am feeling well, but I am very concerned about what's going on. And if I was to be very frank, I've been somewhat paranoid. And in light of what's going on, we all have to start really looking deep within ourselves, and asking the right questions about where we want to really see this nation go. And there's a lot of energy out there that wants to do something, but no one is really not quite sure what that is. And we're all learning as we go along, but it's very volatile out there. And I wish for everyone to be safe, to really look deep within themselves, and to really look and empathize with their fellow human beings. I'm a human being out here. All of us are human beings out here. And people like myself that goes out here, there's a risk factor. And that's not exaggerated, it's not hyperbole, it's real. Just the other day, we had a peaceful protest right here in Oxford, Mississippi.
Clips on the screen.
And good deal. But check this out, as I'm heading home, I'm followed by a police officer. For what reason? It's those kind of little edges that goes on all the time, and it's just subtle. And then sometimes it's very overt, and sometimes it's deadly. And again, there, in the case of say Ahmaud Arbery, that wasn't even a cop-related thing. That was a civilian shooting another civilian as he jogged. We got to really look deep within ourselves and ask what direction we truly want to go. We will perish as fools, as Martin Luther King said otherwise. That's pretty much what I want to say about that, because I'm already starting to feel the change in myself, and I don't want to go there right now.
This is extremely hard, and to hear about the George Floyd murder as well as the other murders is very hard to contain my emotions, and I have been trying to just keep it easy, because if I really go where I truly am in my heart, it would be a different person right now. And I would just like to say that I am with the protesters 110%, 1000%. The way I feel right now is that whatever comes from the ashes, I hope that there's change. Right now, the stories that I'm reading, there's police brutality going on around America. So right now with the protesters, they're still beating them. And this is very upsetting. They murdered him. And until they arrest all of them, and hopefully they'll get the death penalty, I don't see any kind of justice for him or the others. Arrest them all.
Indeed.
One thing I'd like to say is, if you're searching for something to do, especially me as a white guy, because, I can't understand what y'all's going through in y'all's mind at all, And, if you, just happen to be white out there, or black, you take the second to empathize, like Bill was saying, and listen to your fellow human being. Get together with a group of your small friends and talk about it. Argue, get a little angry, get sad, cry, deal with it. Don't run from it, because running from it is only going to lead it to happen again. And use your privilege to your example if you're a white person out there. If with these things that are going on right now, you have to sympathize, because, without like hearing things like Bill and what Shy was saying, I'm going to be quite honest, I feel sad, but I don't feel as sad as y'all, and it's weird to say, and I know no one's going to take it the wrong way. If you do, I don't care. I'm looking for what I can do as a human being to just be the change that I want to see in the world, you know, and that's what I highly suggest everybody do out there.
Exactly.
Organize and mobilize, you know, like they can't stop us if we come together and we're organized and we're smart and we plan things out. You know, if you haven't watched The Killer Mike when he addressed Atlanta, I highly suggest going and watching that. A lot of my talking points are coming from that. Like, organize. Get together with people that's in your local community and talk about it, you know, of different sides. Don't just get around people that have the same opinion as you. Get around people and really talk about it and get to the root of the issue so we can find out what's going on in this world, because things like this shouldn't happen. And the fact that they're still happening is fucked up, and, you know, we need to be the generation and the people to change that, you know? Like, we can't keep letting this shit fucking slide at all. And if you do and you let it slide, you're a part of the problem. You just need to get out the way.
No more deflections. That's just the bottom line. No more all lives, no more blue lives and all that stuff. Those are deflections. If those people were waking up and they were systemically being eliminated, killed off and things of this nature, then perhaps you'd have merit to them.
Lately, to me, blue lives murder.
And it's like, so let's just keep it real with that. And let's not deflect on the real issue, because, you know, that is starting to come around now and it's starting to be understood that those are deflective statements. You know, it is already obvious that all lives matter. That is not the issue here. And those that say that understand that.
This man had a knee on his neck.
If you feel like you racist and you feel the need that you have to prove to another person that you are and defend it, then, like, you need to take a serious look at yourself and how you're so fucking selfish that you can't recognize somebody
And
else.
I don't even think it's just racism. I think it's entitlement. I think it's white privilege, to where it's not so much a loathing or a dislike for another race, but being obtuse or feeling guilty or feeling like, you know, someone's making you feel uncomfortable because you're white. And it's like, no, it's just the reality. You know, of course, you know, you don't feel as though you think you have some sort of privilege if you're struggling as a white person. It's like, that's not the deal. You know, it's like I just described. You know, I don't think there was any white person that had to worry about a cop following them home from our particular protest organized here in Oxford, because nothing volatile happened. And there's a lot of other instances, and of course it becomes deadly when it becomes a situation like George Floyd and so many more like him. Trayvon Martin, Alton Sterling, Rolando Castile, Sandra Bland, and I can keep naming all day here. And I'm not going to go there because by the time I get to the last name or whatever list I would create, I'd be probably iterate.
But these people need to be remembered.
They all need to be remembered, and more, and to the point of what we're saying, realizing that it's going on, realizing that, you know, we're all humans here. You know, I mean, look at us. We are people. Black lives matter. All right, and take that as you see fit in terms of those that want to twist that around, but you know what I mean when I say that. And let's not be deflective about this anymore.
And, you know, I kind of, you know, think we might could end it on a moment of silence. You know, if you're religious out there, Muslim, Jewish, you know, do whatever you do out there, and we can all take a moment of just quick silence, you know, prayer. And after the silence, though, needs to come action. So I hope, you know, if y'all hear this, you know what I'm saying, it inspires you to mobilize and organize.
All right, I gotta get out of this mode.
Psychology, what's on your mind? You know what I'm saying?
That is what's on our mind. I mean, you know, I mean, we're talking about the brain here. You know, to go from that, we can't really even. This is why going here, dude. This is pretty much where the brain is at in our society. It's gonna really, like, that's where it's all at right now. Everything that's going on has to do with not only the social aspect, you know, economical aspects of it, but it has to deal with falsehoods, stereotypes, misinformation, fear. All this has to do with the mind.
Healthcare, people dying and having to watch their loved ones die.
And how that psychologically affects you, which in turn affects your emotional state, the way you present yourself, the way you react to things. And if we're gonna speak about the mind right now, we have to ask the question, well, what's the psychology of America right now? Are we insane? Are we insane that we keep doing the same thing expecting a different result, because that is the definition of it? Are we insane as a nation? That's the question I'll pose if we're going to talk about psychology now.
I want to say, I don't think it's the nation that's insane. I think it's the people in the nation that are insane.
But that's what makes a nation, is it not?
Yeah,
the people.
It is, but I've had this argument with him. Like, you can, but you shouldn't define America by the officer dumbass who killed George Floyd. You can't define it because America is the idea of freedom. That's not what it is right now. It's the people that are.
But it's a dream deferred, bro.
And it's also a society where everybody has to live coherently together. And one part of that society has systemically been left out and been put down. And
when I came to Mississippi, I was not really exposed to the amount of like real live prejudice and racism that was still going on in this country. And I worked landscaping with these guys, and I'd be lying if I said that they weren't good people, but they had some fucked up views, and we got into some horrible arguments over that shit. You know, they came to good places, but this is one story that really hit me. This guy, 20 years old, his grandfather had just passed away, and his grandfather was just a horrible racist. And he took what his grandfather said because he had so much respect for his grandfather, and now that's how he moves in his life. And it's like word of Tupac, the hate you give little infants fucks everyone. If you're teaching these kids these things, that's to me the psychology of it is like
But that psychology is known. That's not something that's like hidden. That's like extremely overt in my opinion at this point in time, when you can have a police officer that can casually kill a man in broad daylight in front of people in an authoritarian position, like with the gall and audacity that he did it, with no remorse
and no care. He didn't care
that you don't have like that aspect of it is not like that doesn't elude us. What eludes us is more so why isn't it being turned around? Again, we keep doing the same thing over. We've been at this place. We've seen this quote unquote movie before. We've heard this song before, and the lyrics sung from "We Shall Overcome" to where we're at now, Black Lives Matter. Same lyrics, different time in a sense, you know what I'm saying? And it's a question of, well, what's truly going to be done after we hoop and holler, after we burn down our cities, after we have dialogue and we realize, oh yes, we are fucked up, but then we wake up and another thing happens. The psychosis, the pattern of the psychosis. We have, because we're talking about psychology, not sociology, because that's the social aspect of it. Okay. The psychology of it is what's going on in here. What makes one have to continue that pattern? Because like, I won't mention this individual's name out of respect for this person, but we know an individual that grew from a certain lifestyle where they were taught that black people didn't even have souls.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And that person is no longer racist.
Yeah.
Therein lies the key. What do you do as an individual to correct yourself?
Like, if y'all haven't seen the movie The Charette, it's a fucking amazing movie. It's got Taraji P. Henson in it, and it's about Raleigh, North Carolina, and segregation. And a charrette is basically when you gather people in the community of opposite viewpoints. They get together, they sit together, they talk, they learn about each other. And this is based off a true story in that movie. Not everybody changed their mind, but an important part that furthered this nation, I guess you could say, did change his mind. And I think that that's kind of like, that's what you need to do. You need to become educated. Talk to somebody who is not like you, and don't talk to them with the objective to put your viewpoint on them. Talk to them with the trying to understand why they think that way on both sides of the argument. If you see somebody talking crazy on Facebook, whether no matter their skin color, it's hard to say don't come at them, but try to understand, because I read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and that's kind of like about the psychology of, I guess it's more sociology, but anyway, when you condemn somebody, they're only going to get further and further into believing that they're right, because now they're basing their emotion out of fear.
See, that's the thing, right? We can say all this, but the very people we're talking to right now, they can still go somewhere online. If they have a certain way of thinking, they may feel like we're infringing on their thought patterns right now because they're used to a certain conditioning. And they'll go, after they watch this video, and they'll go somewhere online to validate the thoughts that they have.
Thanks.
Again, a pattern of psychosis, of spinning the same cycle, because you're saying the right stuff, and we've all said this to people that we know are racist and this and that and the other. I think what we should try to do, as opposed to think like we're gonna assume we're gonna save anyone, or they're gonna really take our viewpoints from watching this. What we should get to is let's discuss why, or try to understand why. Why do we think that happens? Why do we think that in 2020 we can still have college kids that were born in 1990 something, 2000, and they can grow up and still have blackface, doing some shit that was done in the damn 40s and 50s type shit, and they're doing this class of 2019, class of 2020. It's no longer, it's like, why does one feel emboldened to keep that psychology of superiority going? Why
Because they're taught that as a kid. I mean, plain and simple, they're taught that as a kid. Their parents taught them that, and like, to get out of that, they have to learn themselves. Like, the way I see it is a Mama Bird situation. Mama Bird teaches them what they can, kick them out of the nest. That's kind of the way. Yeah, that's kind of the way we need to do. Like, we need to teach our kids what they need to know, but we can't make them think the way we think. We need to let them go out there and live their own lives and determine them for that.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, the mind part of it. You know what I'm saying?
I've gotten to arguments with my, I ain't gonna say who, but like they were talking about like the welfare and things of that nature, and I'm like, these people are not, they are taught to do so. You can't get mad at somebody who was taught to do something. It's like if you were taught to have a hatred towards black people, like it's like I have more compassion for you because you're just ignorant. You know what I'm saying? In the same right, it's like people who if they're taught anything, if they're taught 2 + 2 is 5, man, I got compassion for you because you're ignorant. You know what I'm saying? And all
no, more like pity.
Pity is better word.
It's like, wow, man, because you got the world screwed up. If you really believe that that's what it adds up to, you're not looking at it correctly.
And like, we can bring it back to like the Flat Earthers, episode 2. They were taught to believe the Earth is flat, and now that they've been reinforced over 40, 50 years, it's almost impossible to change, at that point. That's why, I want to be a teacher because I want to influence the kids as they're young. And I want to be a high school teacher because I believe that's where most of the influence is going to be at, is because that's where kids are going through their puberty and just
that's that last leg right before adulthood.
Mm-hmm. And if you can teach them the right way, all of my core beliefs have come from my dad, my mom, and 15 different teachers that I've had that are just amazing people, and teachers that what I hope I can do is stay after school and am open to whenever you need something, come through my door and I'll help you out. Because some people don't have that.
And that gets to another thing, to kind of maybe take it a little bit away from this racial aspect and just talk about the psychology of people in our nation. It's become popular, for example, to hate.
Yeah.
100%. To be a hater. Some people get off on being haters, you know what I'm saying? It's just we shouldn't embolden people to make them feel that's a cool thing to be. Oh man, it's not, how everybody would get on the bandwagon and hating certain celebrities, and everybody's cool with that because that celebrity deserves to be hated on. Oh yeah, I hate Miley Cyrus too. I hate Taylor Swift too. And so, and emboldening these people to go, let's encourage that hatred. Let's encourage each other, wanting to strike out at each other. You know what I'm saying?
You think about it, one of the first places that I remember seeing that is in the family at discussion about members of our family. You know what I'm saying? And how we easily talk about people behind their back and not a negative light, and that's to me hatred. And Southern women in the Lord bless them, and all that type of shit. It's that idea that we can just look at people like that, and because you're not like me, I'm gonna hate you for it, is fucked up and needs to change. I agree with you, Bill. And
there's so many levels to that, right? Because social structures, to say rich and poor is such a is a little bit wider now because the middle class is essentially becoming a poor class. They say arguably there is no such thing as a middle class anymore, where you have the salary gaps being between those that work at a McDonald's compared to a Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, facts.
You know, and that's the gap that we're in as a society in terms of economically speaking.
So I want to take it back to like you saying people jumping on bandwagons. I've only taken one psychology class, but like when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a behaviorist. So I did a lot of research, and I had to look his name up because I couldn't remember his name. Solomon Ash did the conformity test, and I'll put it up on screen, but I'm going to show them. It's 3 lines with A, B, C, D under them, and people are asked, what are the shortest lines? And I say I'm the only one who doesn't know. All of y'all 3 answer the wrong question. Like, all of y'all answer A. Well, I'm like, they put A. I don't want to be left out. I'm going to put A too just because that's what they put. And like, that's like people jumping on bandwagons. It's, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. Maybe I shouldn't like it. Even if like in the back of my mind, I'm sitting there playing it as well.
And understandably, that's the psychology, but like, why would you not think for yourself? I know that's one thing. Me and my dad have many differences in opinions, but one thing he told me from the jump was like, if I tell you something, go research it. Don't just believe me. You know what I'm saying? And that taught me to think for myself. And I think if you really start like, you know, not basing your conclusions off of like what other people have told you and really like think about it for yourself, people might come to different conclusions.
Let me tell you this: most people don't like to be alone. Most people want to be like a part of something.
Yeah.
Like
it's the social being in us. You know, I was just thinking when y'all were saying this, and maybe some of y'all out there are familiar with this social experiment too, but you guys remember some years back, they did this social experiment where they had people playing as security guards, and then they had people playing prisoners.
Yeah.
But they were all just regular people, but had them playing these roles, and they had to stop it in the middle because the people that were playing the roles of authority, they were just really abusing their power.
I really think they
You
made
know?
it 3
And
days.
the ones that were playing the prisoners actually took on that role.
They took on that role and were and felt like, you know, subservient or subjugated to like, you know, being like oppressed by these people. But they didn't even complete the experiment because how far, you know, off the edge the people with authority had. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, this was just a social experiment. These people didn't have these real roles, but they took on the identities.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, kind of getting to what Hunter is saying, you know, it's like, it's a lot of our action, like, it's the secret to really honing in on a good vibration, as it were, to have a good society, is to try to get us all conditioned to a place where, like, say, for example, if you're a racist, in a modern society, we make you feel uncomfortable about it, but there are still people willing to be and say things. I mean, you know, and I ain't gonna curtail this, you know, even our own president says things, you know, that's just like, whoa, wait a minute, that's, you know,
like,
shithole countries, you know, if they start the looting, start the shooting, and all these little, like, you know, like racial codes and stuff, and that kind of subliminal suggestion that kind of lets those that are still out there like, yeah, the hell with them damn niggers and spics and that little slick language that constantly keeps them in that thought pattern, because it's like, well, hey man, the most powerful person in our nation is still giving us little social cues that it's okay to feel this way. It's still okay to feel a little leery of people of black and brown color.
I can't remember what it was, but I think it was during like Nazi Germany. They did that experiment where they had the guy that was sitting in the chair, and like they thought he was in an electric chair, but he wasn't. He was just faking it. And they had another guy in the other room, and he wasn't aware that it was an experiment. And like,
it was not Nazi Germany.
it wasn't. I thought it was. Right.
Yeah, the behaviorist guy. I'll look him up.
But so like, you know, the dude would be like, you know, ask him a question and get it wrong, so he like press the button, and then dude's like over there, you know, saying like. And like all he had to say to do to stop getting him to question pressing the button was say, "You're not gonna be at fault. It's not your fault." So like, so I'm just pressing the button. Fuck it, this motherfucker dies. You know what I'm saying? It's not my fault.
The test was showing that anybody could be an Adolf Hitler, and you put in the right situation. Like, put yourself in these shoes. You're a art student or an art person who got deflected from every arts college he tried to go into. His parents didn't like the Jewish people. He was promised, hey, if you do this, your parents will love you. You could get into art school, get all the paint you want. You'll be rich and famous. People will listen to you. He's like, okay, I'll do it. And like, then you got the generals who like when they were getting like charged, like they're like, I was just following orders.
Right.
That's
right,
bullshit.
Right.
But that's like, you could have just been following orders. Hitler comes up to you, says either your family dies or you work for me.
I mean, that's a tough decision that like
It's
a hard
Sometimes, this is what I'm kind of getting at. Sometimes it ain't always about the moral code, but about the conditioning of fitting into the societal so-called norms. You know what I'm saying? Because, for example, here's one that we all can relate to, and it's going to be funny, but we don't do it. How come, you didn't wake up today and just go about in the world naked? How come you put on clothes?
That's just what everybody does.
Because that's what everyone does, and if you don't do it, everyone's gonna laugh
Yeah.
at you. Everyone's gonna laugh at you. Everyone like that movie Carrie.
Yeah.
That's a conditioning process because every other animal on this planet ain't wearing no damn clothes. We put clothes on them and shit, making doing that. What's the word? When you make an animal do like human shit, it starts with an A. Amorphic. Whatever.
The experiment he was talking about is the Milgram shock experiment.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
And
it sounded familiar when he's talking about it.
It happened in 1963, and the guy Milgram had a guy record like pain, like fake pain. He's like and after he was done, like he at any point could have been like, stop, I'm done, and he's like, okay.
Now here's what I'm going to say that will get Shy to kind of speak more on something that we don't know nothing about. Shy, do you think that there's a conditioning process with women to have to look the way they look?
Conditioning?
Like in terms of, like, if I don't put makeup on, I'm not pretty. If I don't weigh a certain amount, I'm not pretty. All this kind of stuff.
It's hard to say conditioning. It might be something more of...
But on the L'Oreal commercials and Maybelline,
Yeah, you might want to emulate them and all that, but and a lot of people might feel like they have to use this certain product in order to be more like this person, or it could be, I guess, with some people, conditioning, wanting to be like the norm and everybody else.
Like, man, like for you, Shy, when you think of yourself being pretty, is it based off of something in society or is it something within? Like when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, oh, I'm pretty because I look like this, or I'm pretty because, hey, I made myself look a certain way that I'm comfortable with.
Okay, there's a couple of points I want to make about that. For me personally, it's because of how I feel within. And, it's like, look at Mom. Mom has always had confidence. I always had confident women around me.
Right.
It's like every woman around, think about Aunt Harriet and every woman around.
Confident.
So I think it was only normal that I turned out that way. And I look at myself as,
Would that be considered a positive conditioning?
It can be how
I guess the proper word would be more like reinforcement, maybe, or something.
If you do good,
yeah.
If you try to use it against people, no,
Shy,
of course.
I'll say something funny. All right. Now here's something that. Excuse me. All right. So you're in school, right? If a girl showed up and had too much lipstick or eyeliner, and that's not the norm, would you think that that's like funny or tell her like to correct anything? Or you'd be like, oh, maybe she just loves to pack on lipstick and eyeliner and she looks like a clown or something.
Well, okay, there's two different things about that. You said if I was in school. So if I was
young,
in
school.
If I was in school, yeah, that would be funny.
Kind of get back to what Hunter was saying, like, like that, some of our social cues come from that leg in our school years,
Well, yeah, but as an adult woman, you look at things different. And I would look at her.
Now.
I would look at her as somebody that does not know anything about makeup. Maybe she had the wrong, whoever taught her. She doesn't know anything.
So you say, hey, look here.
Because there's a technique to it. It's not just putting on lipstick. You can match colors. I mean, all kinds of things. It's a technique that.
If she had like the wrong face base, like it didn't match her skin tone.
See, the thing about makeup, it's supposed to enhance your beauty. Yeah. So you don't have to use so much of it, and if you're going about the wrong way. But one thing I was going to say, talking about the mind, when it comes to especially Black women, our beauty standards have to come from a different place because it's not there. Right. So when it came, that's why it was in my instance, very positive to have women in my life that showed me, Yeah, black is beautiful. Now, when it comes to, and see, these are things that you have to get over because just like how we were talking about with white people and they're fed certain things, well, young black people are told and fed certain things too that we have to get over. And the majority of it is negative. And if a lot of it really gets to you, you might not ever get over it. You know, a lot of people might come into their own later on, but they have to grow up with some kind of stereotype, being called this, being called that because of their skin color. So there's a lot of things that we'll have to overcome in the mind, thinking that you're ugly because
you remember that social experiment years ago with the toy babies? You know, they had the black doll and the white doll, and the black kids didn't even want to play with the black doll. One of the kids literally slung the doll across the room. Now
that is conditioning.
You know, it's like, you know, the
about beauty. That is conditioning.
And this
about
is during
beauty.
the time when black folks were still trying to straighten their hair with that conch and stuff, and you know, making their hair look like the white people so they could be on TV and stuff. So identity for us was just, it's still been askew the whole time.
Oh, it's askew right now because I mean, you see it every day. There's a lot of things that we are influenced with each other. But then there's some things that would make you question, you know, it's like...
One thing I have to say, just for, you know, context, you know, like I've heard the argument about like, you know, in our nation, in the history of black or African Americans or whatever here, like, for example, you see black women now like have blonde wigs or wear blue contacts.
You're reading my mind.
All right. But let me say, I will say something now. In our society, perhaps that's a conditioning thing. But on the flip side, just to give a little educational context, blonde hair and blue eyes exist in Africa. Google it right now for yourself. For those that are watching this, you're going to see some of the darkest people on this planet with blue eyes and blonde hair. Maybe my man will pull it up or something like that. They exist on this planet. So just to let it be known, black folks have the capability to grow that too. Remember, we came first, y'all. Africa.
Well, we have the genes and the DNA to produce
so we can produce all that. You know, what's that thing? Black man, white child, you know, black baby, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's like all of these variations to where it's just like two white people can't produce a black baby, you know what I'm saying? But, but you know, because of the genes within us and stuff. Now, that doesn't make
But that shows how we're all related.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that's not a genetic superiority thing. Like, that's just a connected, like, that's a genealogical thing. Like, you know, it's nothing to do with one race or one gene or whatever being more or less than valuable. It's just a context in terms of history. And, you know, I've heard the argument like, you know, I don't know why black people don't have blue eyes. Yeah, they do. You know, and, you know, there are black folks that grow blonde hair. But now, with all that said, I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, certain celebrities out here that be looking like that know that history. They're emulating the blonde hair, blue-eyed white woman. That's what they're, well, I shouldn't say it like that completely. I mean, I don't think in all cases that's, the thing. But it's just like, yeah, but that look, come on. You know what I'm saying? If you're a very dark-skinned person and you're a dark, and guys too, I've seen black dudes dye their hair blonde and have blue contacts and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a, you know, if it could be argued that they're trying to look white or if they're just trying to look different as a black person or whatever. You know, there's a lot of multi-layers with that, especially in the modern times, because you got, like, you know, young guys, for example, that don't mind wearing dresses. They don't consider that to be effeminate in the modern times. You know what I'm saying? Boys and stuff wearing super tight jeans and things change. But in my time, you wouldn't have not saw anybody that considered themselves to be like, you know, the bravado in my time growing up. You know, like, for example, imagine Tupac in a dress. No.
Fuck no.
But Young Thug, dress, commissar, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but his name is Young Thug.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this man got an umbrella with a dress on.
But then
you know what I mean? And ain't nobody challenging his gangsterdom.
But you know what I'm saying? His excuse for that was, he said he had to pull underneath the...
Yeah.
That's what he said.
You kids can buy that all you want. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna pull nothing that simple over nobody my age with that shit. You know what I'm saying? But
it's a different time and generation, and you know, I understand things can change and styles can change, and you know, a lot of that has a psychology to do with it, because you know, if you're willing to put on the skirt and dress like a woman, you have accepted a lot of things in your mind.
And you've grown up in a different time. Like, okay, Hunter, you're the youngest one here. All right. In your time, when you was coming up, could a boy come to school in a dress and not get picked on?
No.
He still would have got picked on.
Especially in the South.
All right, and Hunter's the youngest man here, and he's still saying that in his time, even growing up, if a boy would have came to school with a dress on, he still would have got picked on.
Now, is it right for us to pick on him? No. Because it's like, there's people that, like, I know that...
No, it ain't right to pick on him. No, it ain't right to bully nobody.
Yeah.
But our little brother, probably. It wouldn't surprise me if he meets somebody along his...
And he may have a best friend who loves wearing dresses. It doesn't mean nothing about his sexual orientation, mind.
Yeah,
exactly.
He just may like Jaden Smith and stuff has argued that and everything.
Yes.
And you have to... Psychology. This is great how this is kind of all coming back to this. It's about the way we look at things in perception. And it's like in this day and time, it runs a gambit on what's considered effeminate. Because like in my time, for example, there was little social cues like I told you. A straight man wore his earring on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And if you were gay, you wore it on the right side or maybe both. Today, straight guys, earrings on both sides, hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then a certain look. You have a guy that's tattooed up and down, look like he just came out the pen, gay.
Yeah.
The guy that's looking all straight and, he's the heterosexual.
Yeah.
But the imagery is, he's obviously, look at him. He's the tough guy with the tattoos. He loves the one that loves the women. Oh, I don't know about that straight-laced guy. Yeah, he may, play for the same team and then, the optics of it. And then, no, he's actually the straight guy and he's the gay guy. How about that?
I think that's awesome though, because it's like it's kind of breaking down stereotypes. If you see that and you like automatically judge it, it's like, fooled you. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
And it's probably bettering us because of that.
Yeah.
I say but people can get so stuck in their ways that they don't want to change, and they have been that way their whole life. They think it's right, and it's like if they think it's right, why would they want to change it?
Especially
and they
if they think that it's been working.
Yeah, exactly.
So I watched this guy named Gary Vee. He's a
This
businessman.
man always bring up Gary Vee like we even heard today. I've been watching this guy. This man didn't say this guy's name 5 episodes. We know who Gary Vee is, Scooby.
All right, so like he was talking about, I might have actually already said this on the podcast, but it goes into the point of like, the psychology of a person and how he's changing how people look at being in the business. Like, I want to show that, being a successful business person means treating your employees well, being a good person, not owning 10 jets,
Well, that gets it to the psychology of the business mind.
Exactly.
How happy do you want your employees under you?
Actually, one of the best ways to make your employee happy is by telling them good job.
That's
That more than a promotion, or I should say a promotion, but a raise.
And maybe being hands-on
Even just,
in
like-
projects even, and you're just not so distant, you kind of are hands-on in things,
Yeah,
So
and
I am a boss. I'm the head chef.
Hey, Mac, I am a boss. Mac.
But like even just like when your employee walks in, kind of like give them a smile. I've had people tell me that me smiling at them when they walk in has made their work experience so much better.
Gives them incentive to want
And
to work.
I was in the Marine ROTC in high school, and I was always
Hoorah.
I was always taught like when you're a leader, lead as a pupil. So like one of my best friends who works with me, he's a dishwasher, but every chance I get, I'm like, come over here, I'm gonna teach you how to cook. Hey man, make this sauce for me.
That's hands-on. That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. You're hands-on, man. You're not just barking orders, man. You're hands-on with this guy. I think the best kind of bosses, as it were, you know what I'm saying, are those that make you feel like that you're a part of what you're doing. Not just an employee clocking in, but it's like, I'm a part of the experience. I'm helping making this company grow. I'm a
Exactly.
part of
I
that.
feel accomplished.
Yeah, I feel accomplished, and I'm accomplishing something for this company that they acknowledge. Like you say, with a smile or something to let me know that I exist in this company,
Talking to the psychology of being a part of something, because we were, touching on that earlier, being a part of positive things, if there's make people feel comfortable, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of getting off topic.
No. Actually, it's right on, school. But okay, for example, which to kind of put more into your point there, if I know that not only what I'm doing with, we can use our podcast here for example.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, we're a company for all intents and purposes, and we have an intended goal to entertain our audience, but we're careful. Even with what we were just discussing, just to kind of keep it real with y'all, I'm gonna keep this episode completely 100 about things as far as myself. the topic about the protest and what happened to George Floyd and all that, I've really been feeling some type of way, and I was, I've been minding how I was going to approach this without getting too emotional about it and crazy, in my approach, and that is being professional. Mm-hmm. I am considering my candor. I'm considering my fellow podcasters here, and considering the audience and how they're going to take it in, and it's like, in other words, we're doing something positive. Mm-hmm. If I felt that what we were doing was to incite or provoke, or to ridicule, we're all the type of people that we wouldn't engage in such a thing, but just say hypothetically that you were involved in some setting where, you got involved in something, and all of a sudden you hear it in the language. It's like, whoa, these guys are neo-Nazis, or, they're white supremacists, you didn't realize that, and it's like, okay, I'm not on board, I didn't know y'all was going in this direction kind of thing, or anything that just harkens to something that is negative. I'm going to the more extreme cases, but it could be something like you're involved in a company, or you're involved with a couple of employees in a major company where they pull you off to the side and they're like, we done figured out to usurp some money out of this company. You witness? Yeah. Do some Bernie Madoff type shit, but now this company that you work for, you've been doing well, they've been promoting you, you've been getting all the perks that you're supposed to get, but they're like, hey, we can juice it a little bit more, the psychology being that, are you sound in your environment to the point where something like that wouldn't rattle you? You would keep yourself positive because, the overall goal here is that I'm involved in something positive, and you don't use it, there's nothing negative that will pull you away from that conscious. I think I made my point.
We talked about it in the wellness episode where we talked about, not being afraid of the negative emotions, but being aware of them and, figuring out where they come from and trying to turn them into a positive one. And something I wanted to mention earlier, and I've never mentioned on camera, but I was going to do this anyway. Like when I was coming up, I listened to a lot of Lil Wayne. So when I was freestyling, I would say the N-word in my freestyles, or just in conversation and tweets, because I didn't know no fucking better, right? Then my homie, he was like, man, I don't think you should say that, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, why? You know what I'm saying? Boom, he peeped me the game, right? I haven't said it since. And that's an example of being a part of something positive. If you hear something and you just want to be a part of it, I could have been like, man, fuck you, bro, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say, but nah, you know what I'm saying? And that turns into, I'm at work, motherfucker says that shit, and now I'm able to educate him, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's kind of
that's definitely what you're talking about is definitely the little steps that need to happen. And it's, the broader strokes would be those that are in a position of influence and power to also have those attitudes. Be bold enough to take the strikes, like say what happened to Billie Eilish here recently. Billie Eilish and stuff, everyone knows. She made a comment here about white privilege, and there were a lot of people that was trying to turn that around on her, like, well, oh, you're the ultimate, white privilege princess kind of thing. You're a pop celebrity, white girl, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, so she has no right to speak.
Yeah, so she can't speak on that. And the irony is that's exactly what black folks have been asking of people of her, in her position. It's like, yeah, do exactly that. Acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? Because that creates the conversation, that creates the dialogue that will be conducive towards moving to a better place. Because otherwise, say she doesn't say that, but she wholeheartedly acknowledges it, that does a disservice to her fan base and those that know of her and the society that she lives in because of her influence. Billie Eilish, when she says something, millions of people are listening. And you know what I'm saying?
The psychology of not being afraid to be wrong. I think that's something that's huge in I think all
she wasn't wrong, so she wasn't even worried about that.
Well, yeah, I know that. I was just more saying people are afraid to speak for fear of ridicule. Right. You know what I'm saying?
She could have easily kept, she didn't have to say that because she probably knew, the whiplash would be. Exactly. Well, what you talking about, little white girl kind of thing. Man. It's just kind of like the Me Too thing to kind of bring it to another place. And Shy being our only female here and everything. All men had to listen to women of all different backgrounds because it was a gender thing. So it was a man-woman kind of thing. And women were saying, hey, for the longest time, say it with Hollywood, for example, the casting couch thing has been ugly. Men have been trying to do things to us for the longest. Harvey Weinstein, Cosby, whatever have you.
Or we lose a job.
You know what I'm saying? Right. And major actresses start coming out and other kind of women that didn't, make it in the business, but, it happened to them and all this. And men, there was this thing I was seeing. There were the guys that were like, oh, well, you know, some of them girls, maybe it went into all of them. I'm sure some of them girls knew what they got into.
No,
like,
man.
just trying to kind of find some kind of hole out to where it's just like, deflecting in some kind of way to where it's just like, nah, we can find some sort of little fallacy into what you're saying there because, us guys, we're not that bad kind of thing. It's like, that's bullshit, man. This shit has been going on for centuries. If we keep it 100, it's been going on since man, woman. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just keep it 100. You know what I'm saying? I mean, hell, I was going to say something, but this ain't, I was about to say something, but I was going to offend a lot of biblical people with that one. I won't say it. I was going to say something ugly, boy, about... No, I ain't gonna say it because I don't want to.
I want to ask Shy.
Yeah,
what I learned in the Me Too movement is like, things that I was doing like in high school. A girl would be like, oh no, you know what I'm saying, and you kind of like, oh come on, you know what I'm saying? That kind of like, and in my mind back then, I didn't know I was doing anything fucking wrong.
Catcalling is the worst thing. We're gonna hate that shit.
Not catcalling. I'm talking about like you with them, you know what I'm saying, and you like pressure them to do more than what they want to do. And like I don't know. I didn't know that was like something that was.
Well, some things are just like how they say courting and all of that. Yeah. But if a person is telling you, of course, that they're feeling uncomfortable and all that, then that's not a cue. That's just letting you know.
Like that woman, she a couple years back, you remember her? I think she was white or Spanish. She walked around New York and had someone with a camera following her. And she was just trying to make a point about how many times in a day that she's catcalled just on a regular stroll.
Yeah, okay.
And that shit was insane. As a man, I was embarrassed.
It's very bad. I lived in New York. I understand about the catcalls. But at the same time, I don't want men to feel afraid to talk to women.
Well, see, there's the dichotomy of it, right? Because it's like, for the guy that would approach you correctly, this is kind of what I'm getting at. It's just like, men can't act as though that the reason why women may be apprehensive is because they deal with that and try to act like, oh no, you just being a bitch. It's just like, well, like that woman's video showed. It's like, well, think about a woman like that. She done walked around a couple of blocks, man, woo, oh baby, and then she settles down in the cafe and a real gentleman steps up to her and is like, hey, and then she acts some kind of way with him because goddamn, for the last hour, motherfucker's been gawking her, so it's hard for a woman to go, well, goddamn, which one of you motherfuckers is really coming at me for real? And then maybe not have the optics on that real situation when it does arise.
Well, that's always a fine line. Of course, the ones that are catcalling, and the very one that you do choose could end up flipping later on.
Right.
Right.
So it's like, damn, he was the perfect gentleman, and this motherfucker's the wife beater or whatever have you.
Yeah. So it can always be a risky call, and I'm not exactly sure. It's a scary thing, to have to consider that
but
you might have
psychology.
Right,
Getting back to it, our fucking beer commercials and shit like that encourages that behavior. We're catcalling in commercials.
One of the things they used to tell women that if you don't have any kind of protection, put your keys in your knuckles. So it's like there are different things.
Oh shit, guys! All right, fuck around, get your ass knocked out.
I've learned different techniques to protect myself.
I will kick your motherfucking ass up in this goddamn shit.
And shout out to our sponsor, Cherry Blossom Designs.
I hope this podcast does good today, man. It's gonna be very good.
Too, man. Oh man, look at Scooby is always sleeping, man.
Man, he's always sleeping. Like, wake up, you happy little camper.
Man, what's going on with you, baby?
Man, what's good, man? My neck is kind of hurting, bro, and I couldn't find a remote last night.
Oh, really? Huh.
Well, have you ever tried cherry blossom pillows?
Have you ever lost your remote on the couch?
Do you ever just need a spot to put your book in?
Do you ever just need a place to rest your head?
So if you need a pillow with a special pocket, Cherry Blossom Design has the right thing for you. Head on down to their Etsy store and use code BRIDGETHEGAP to get $5 off an order of 2 or more.
That was a hell of a damn transition, man.
Yeah, man, I was gonna do that.
How you gonna go from kicking ass to and then have the Cherry Blossom Design?
You see why? Because the owner of Cherry Blossom Design is actually my nana, and she
She's a badass.
karate, and she teaches self.
Man, their grandmother will kick your ass.
That is
you
amazing.
mess around and mess with their grandmother will flip your ass over up in here.
To talk about that.
I would love to meet her.
If y'all's grandmother watched this, you a badass. Hell yeah. I ain't gonna mess with you. I ain't trying to get my ass kicked.
Okay, so we've talked about the psychology of like movements and stuff. now I kind of want to get into like the good part about, like, not saying that that's the bad part, but like.
No. We need to kind of lighten this shit up a little bit.
We're talking about psychology. We cannot not talk about these people. Freud, Sigmund Freud.
Oh, Sigmund Freud. But I got to say something. I will say real quick about him. When I was in college and stuff, I had it was a lady that was our psychology professor, and she chose the whole chapter that was on Freud. She chose to not teach him because of the misogyny and or you know, kind of a chauvinistic kind of, you know, ideology that he had in some of his writings. So there's a lot of female psychiatrists or psychologists or whatever that negates his teachings, because a lot of it now, like for example, I don't know if it's the Oedipus complex, you know, women being jealous of men because they have penises.
I mean,
That's doing too much cocaine,
This
Freud.
is like
That's
the
too much
beginning.
cocaine, Freud.
This is the beginning of the Me Too.
You know, but and they put this shit in psychology books. And yeah, women are jealous of us because we have penises. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's kind of like that.
The Oedipus
But
complex.
psychoanalysis would not exist. Like the whole aspect of you laying on the couch and someone that, you know, like, tell me your shit. That's Freud. So we got to give Freud his props for that.
The Oedipus complex, I'm just going to correct you there, is that, have you ever read Oedipus Rex? It's a Greek novel, but I don't remember who.
All right.
He was born to this king family and went to a prophet, and the prophet was like, your son is going to be your downfall. So the dad was like, fuck it, bye, threw the son out. And the son was raised by another king and went.
Is this the thing about being in love with your mother?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just get there. This man telling a whole fucking elaborate story. He loved the mother instead of jealous of the penis. Okay. And this man about to tell the whole epic story. And then he fucking journeyed into the land of Netherland or whatever.
I'm
the
not
fuck
sure
it is.
what's worse.
He was like, well, but yeah, I know but there is, I think there's something about Freud out there now. If I'm not, I got the term wrong, but I thought that there was something out there, something to do with women being jealous of men have, you know, the phallic thing and shit like that. I guess I just got the word wrong. But yeah, that's fucked up too, because it's like, okay, Freud, you was just doing too much coke. Are you trying to tell us that maybe you was in love with your mama, and then you try to put that shit on society? Like, well, if you feel these kind of urges like me, you may be in love with your mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then fucking document that shit. You know, that's why goddamn women don't teach your shit now, Freud.
But like, a lot of his stuff has been disproven. But like and psychoanalysis is something that's less and less common nowadays. The sitting on a couch telling your feelings, that's becoming less and less common.
Well, okay, let's get into the other guys. C.G. Jung, fucking B.F. Skinner. You know, there's other guys that have set a new modern pay wave of thinking, because like a lot of people actually quote Jung now more than anything. You know, like Jung is the one that said, what is it? What persists? Oh, come on, find that Jung quote. It's something to do with persist, and then please find it. But you know, and that, you know, that is said like that modern
who
quote.
is he?
Jung, Y-U-N-G, yeah, C.G. Jung. You know what I'm saying? He was a pupil of Freud's, but him and Freud, you know, they separated, like they had some sort of, you know, ideological differences, and he went his route and he created his whole little thing. I don't know what he's the father of in terms of, you know, psychology, but he's a monolith in the world. I remember this from my old psychology days, but he has something about, you know, what you keep doing over and over will continue until you break the pattern. But he more eloquently said it like what persists. Oh, come on, help me out over there, man. This just popped right up. It's like one of his most famous ones.
I cannot find
You know? Oh, come on. Let me get that laptop. I'll find that
You
shit.
are what you do, not what you say you'll do.
No. The persist is in the title. Jung persist. Put that two together and the title the quote should come up. Look at this, y'all. Modern technology right on hand. You know what I'm saying? Man, got a laptop looking this shit up in real time.
While I'm looking this up, I do want to talk about one of my favorite psychologists, that's the word I'm looking for. Ivan
Pavlov. Well, behaviorist. You wanted to be a behaviorist. Now, for those not hip, you know, Ivan Pavlov is the one that, you know, famously made a dog salivate to the sound of a bell by conditioning the dog and stuff. Every time he would hear the bell, he would salivate.
If you watch The Office, the Altoid thing that Jim...
Oh, yeah, with Jim making Dwight and stuff, you know, drink the Altoid every time he heard the sound of the computer shutting on or cutting off or something, you know, he made him want an Altoid. You know, that's classical conditioning is what that process is known as. And, well, I was about to say something, but I'm not going to say it because, you know, it may be something we may do later.
I kind of want
Stay
to
tuned for conditioning.
going into like the conditioning and the habits and the persistence things you were talking about. You know, it's like it's a good.
Here it is.
What?
I think until
Please,
you
please.
make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. I am not what happened to me. I am what chosen to be. What you resist persists.
That's it. What you resist persists. That last part is the quote I was trying to get to. What you resist persists. So, for example, if you are ignorant to something and someone is hipping you to the right knowledge and you resist that knowledge, then your ignorance will persist. All right? That's essentially what that means.
Also, like if you're trying to say quit a bad habit in your life and you resist it, you know, it's like
Like if you keep saying I want to quit smoking, but you keep buying cigarettes.
Yeah.
So that what you resist persists. Your habit will persist.
I was speaking more just like in the terms of like, you know, how you think about it. It's like that's something I can't have. It makes you want it more.
That's still it's the same thing. It's the same fucking thing.
Okay.
You're resisting anything that you know, like for example, you know smoking's bad for you, but you resist that information.
Yeah.
You know, it clearly tells you in the package, this will cause cancer.
Yeah.
You resist that information and your habit persists.
Yeah.
So you want another behaviorist thing. One way to tell a former smoker is they put pins in their mouth all the time.
Fuck yeah. Yes, I do that all the time.
I do that all the time to fuck with people. I've never smoked a day in my life.
Well, see, I'm not a former smoker, so I've never really gained that habit. So.
But if you watch last episode, I had the pin in my mouth almost the whole time.
People probably think you're a former smoker.
But I've never
Well,
smoked
truth
a
be
day in
told,
my
man,
life.
he used to smoke a shitload of stogies back in the day.
Nah, really
Cuban
was
cigars,
crack.
only Cuban for fucking Mac, man. But no, man. Okay, so let's get into some other aspects of I want to actually, touch on something that me and my sister were talking about earlier that I find very interesting: abnormal psychology.
Yeah.
Like the mind of serial killers, or the mind of those that think in
Psychopaths
ways.
and sociopaths.
There are people. I forget what the conditioning is. There's actually condition out there where people think that the left side of their body is a disease.
Oh shit.
And they try to chop off their limbs and shit like that, and it's all in their brain. That's the shit I want to talk about.
I think it's called dysmorphia or something.
Dysmorphia. I mean, listen to that shit, dysmorphia. That sounds
might
like
be
some
wrong.
fucked up.
I might
No. That even if you're wrong, that's what we're calling that shit. Dysmorphia. That shit sounds cool as hell. But it's like, imagine that you look at your left arm and you go, ah, and want to cut that motherfucker off. That's some fucked up shit right there. Or think about
That's a brain
if you grow up,
imbalance.
or you think that eating other human beings is the right thing to do.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter and Jeffrey Dahmer.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, what the fuck, man? I ain't a burger.
To me, that goes into like like the great debate of psychology. Is it brain chemistry or is it a taught behavior?
Is it
Well,
taught
that's the
or-
difference between psychology and psychiatry, right? You know what I'm saying? In terms of like, they approach it either from a medicinal place where it could be corrected with like medicine, or is it something that needs to be corrected with your thought process?
That's what I believe. And I know
Depends, because if you're schizophrenic, that's a distortion of your thought process. And you need medicine.
Yeah,
You
it's
know, my
the
motherfucker
actual-
can't talk you out of fucking schizophrenia.
It's
so.
an imbalance in
Yeah,
the brain.
but now if you're depressed, you could be guided out of depression. You
He's
can
more
be guided
talking
out of
like-
depression.
He's more talking like if you're a psychopath, you can be taught not to be a psychopath. Which
Or taught to be one.
Ooh, do you think you could have brought Jeffrey Dahmer back to
You
reality?
I think if you would have took him as a baby and raised him in a
Oh,
different environment,
man,
and that
come
was
on.
that's
That's
fucked up.
you know what I'm saying? Anybody could be shaped at that point. Like,
So that's then it's like, so is the brain imbalance coming from what they're being taught? Because like
Well,
with the
so-
anxiety,
Again.
Here's the thing about being a psychopath: it's not a brain imbalance.
right.
Okay,
Thank
okay,
you.
okay, okay.
Whereas schizophrenia is. Whereas bipolarism is.
So,
Autism. Things like this that you can't help, where you can't, like an autistic person, there's certain autistic people that don't take, social cues.
Yeah.
The kind of people that would laugh at a funeral and not realize they're doing the wrong thing. That's a whole nother imbalance than, choosing to kill people because it satisfies you. You're a fucking psychopath.
Yeah, I feel
when you're
that.
like that. You're a psychopath.
Yeah.
Because you get off on killing people. It's not a distortion in your brain where you were raised up in a household where your parents fed you human
Parts,
parts, and you were conditioned to believe that, eating humans is normal type shit because your family structure conditioned you.
Yeah.
You know, Jeffrey Dahmer learned that shit on his own.
Facts.
His mommy and daddy wasn't eating fucking people and shit. You know what I'm saying? That's some shit that he did.
So it's like, you know, anxiety, you know, like you was mentioning that you have anxiety, you know, and Tori does too. And like, when I feel like I do. I've never been diagnosed, so I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Teddy, you know what I'm saying, got anxiety, you know? And like my thought process was that when I started looking back on it is I learned how to be anxious from my father. Because when we would go in the grocery store, it was like, we got to be in and out, you know what I'm saying? And it's that anxious, you know what I'm saying? Walk fast, you know? And like, I wonder, and you know, I've gotten to talks with Tori, you know, about it being the chemical imbalance in the brain, but you know, does that like limit you from never being able to be anxious again? Like, can you fix those imbalances? Then do you have to do that through drugs?
And anxiety, there's multi-levels to that because there's levels to anxiety. A schizophrenic suffering from any kind of anxiety issues is different than someone that doesn't have that condition and suffering from that. Because like there are people that, you know, there are certain schizophrenic patients that take lithium, you know, for, you know, any kind of anxiety that I may have. I don't need lithium, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I could smoke some weed and I'm okay. But, you know, there are those that, you know, it goes a little bit further. When you're bipolar, for example, you know what I'm saying? Your emotional state is not that of a normal individual.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You go to very extremes on both sides. You can be extremely sad or extremely manic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And there is a chemical imbalance in the way that your brain operates. You know, for all intents and purposes, not to, you know, make any fun or light, but, you know, there's a malfunction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To where it's just, as far as social cues go, because it could be argued, like, for example, we've all seen the movie Rain Man.
Oh, no, actually, no, I have not.
God damn, Scooby, there's so much shit you need to see. You ain't seen Rain Man, you ain't seen Good Times. God damn, boy, what the hell you been watching?
Paid him for
But at any rate,
1,000 times.
but at any rate, you know, for those out there that have seen Ram, which is probably the rest of the world, you know what I'm saying? You saw how the guy was, like, he, you know, the social cues is just out the window. He didn't know how to act. But that motherfucker could do fucking mathematics on the level of Einstein and Hawking and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Like,
so it's just like, okay, so you could, you know, you could apply that and help society with your mind and be able to do things that the regular brain can't do, but you can't even have a casual conversation. Come in with the milk. You know, Howard Hughes and shit. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker was a great aviator of God, became a billionaire because of all that shit. But social cues wise, this man was off.
Yeah.
You know, I was saying that scene about coming with the milk. That's a scene in the movie where, you know, he confides himself in a room and he's telling people to bring shit into him. And me and Shai started stripping this all. He's like, come here with the milk. Come here with the milk. And he's sitting there like butt ass naked, pissing in jars and shit like that.
What the fuck?
But this motherfucker was an aviator genius. He was an aviator genius. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, well, so to what end do we, you know, that's why they say, you know, genius walks the fine line between the normal and crazy and all that fine line, because it's like, there were people that thought Einstein was crazy.
Yeah.
But, you know, in the modern times, oh, he's the god of brain and all this. It's like, yeah, but, you know, when he first introduced E equals MC squared, you motherfuckers thought he was crazy.
Yeah, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Hawking when you talk about black holes. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? Now, oh, he's a god. He's a god.
Oh, God.
You know, everybody that done said some shit in the scientific community at some time, they got ridiculed before it became an understanding of what is.
What is, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, man, you know, these motherfuckers, you know, Galileo, you know, hey, man, you know, there's some shit going on out there. In-house arrest.
What the fuck?
In-house arrest?
Yeah.
I'm telling you motherfuckers the truth. I'm looking out my goddamn telescope,
it.
and y'all, you know, that messes with the, you know, the power of God and the duality of God. And I ain't speaking from that place. This is science. I ain't trying to say that God don't exist just because I can see that there's goddamn moons and shit around Jupiter.
Yeah.
What the fuck wrong with you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, psychology, man.
Yeah.
You know, like he was saying back earlier in the conversation, to say that the world was flat for certain people, that was just a way of thinking. You know, I will say that, you know, that kind of has been misrepresented in a lot of ways, because actually, you know, that whole flat earth thing didn't last for a very long period of time.
Really?
Like, man, motherfuckers a long time ago knew the world was not flat. You know, we look at like, you know, we looked at it like, you know, oh, you know, way back then, there were certain pockets in history in certain places where maybe this region thought that, but there were other regions that didn't think that. You know what I'm saying? They knew and had navigated the globe and shit. It was like, no, this motherfucker ain't, you know, flat. You know, because if that's the case, then I would just keep going straight. Why do I go down at the horizon? Because the motherfucking globe is rounding out, motherfucker. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you really think about it from that perspective, that's what I've always wanted to kind of tell a flat earther. It's like, well, how come I just don't keep going on the flat terrain? You know, you see a ship go out. Why the fuck does it disappear?
They
You
probably,
know what I'm saying? What happens to the ship if it's flat?
but like I'm gonna put myself in their shoes. Like I could already see the argument going. Well, that's them falling over the edge.
Oh shit.
But it's like, okay, all right, they fell over the edge. Then how come when I look behind me,
That's where
here they come again?
That's where the
Now
argument
explain
gets
that
skewed.
fucking
Yeah.
sorcery.
Yeah.
What's that sorcery?
Which-
They done fell off the edge, but now they're behind me?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, flat earthers. I can make fun of y'all all day. I love y'all.
Like, like, is this something like in psychology, but like communication, or is that more sociology?
Well,
It
I will,
depends.
I will say this, in my opinion, well, and I think maybe I've seen this opinion. I think that language is the greatest thing that human beings have ever invented, because everything that we did thereafter had to do with us being able to communicate with each other, to be able to build, to be able to fortify our ways of being, to be able to express love, hate, this and that and the other. And I don't mean language in a full development. I'm talking about all the way back to the days of grunts, when a certain grunt meant a certain thing.
Yeah.
If I grunted this way, then you knew, don't fuck with me. But if I grunted this way, maybe I meant, I wanted you to hug me or show some, whatever. There were various grunts that meant different things until one day, somebody was able to articulate something.
Yeah.
No, no, no,
No, yeah.
no. And then yes, yes, yes. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden, all the other little shit that came out of it, it came from some fucking primal place, because and could you imagine the first motherfucker that said something?
Like, whoa.
Imagine the first motherfucker, like, what was that movie show that you like with Daryl Hannah? Was it Daryl Hannah? The cave, the clam in the cave bear or whatever.
Yeah.
And in this particular movie and shit, it's like, I think the entire tribe thought that the biggest number in the world was like 4 or 5. And the smartest person in the group, he could count to 5. And they were amazed by that. And then like she got in some shit, and then I think she doubled that and showed the 10. Man, they looked at her like she was Einstein.
No cap.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dude looking like, and he was the old man, the wise man that could count to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she like, yeah, but there's a number called 10 up in this bitch. And she didn't say it. Like she presented it and showed him. She was like, ooh, ooh. And he's like,
Actually, she counted up to like 30.
oh, it's like 30.
And that's when he started to realize they were going to be extinct this year.
yeah, y'all
This
days
is
are
the
numbered.
new human.
You motherfuckers can only count to 5. The new human done arrived, and they called Homo sapien up in this bitch. But that's what I'm talking about, right? That shift. And that's why I say that intelligence is all a matter of perspective in terms of where you see yourself at. Like that Einstein quote about, a fish could live the rest of his life thinking he's stupid because he spent his whole life trying to climb a tree
Fuck yeah, that's real.
So that
instead of swimming in an ocean and realizing his worth.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying?
so there's different IQ, emotional quotient. There's different types of emotional quotient. There's generalized IQ, which is like you can have a high. Okay, let me rephrase that. There's different types of genius.
Yeah, because IQ, is supposed to be you're thinking above the age grade that you're at and all that kind of shit. As far as a particular thing with me that I've never this is actually the first time I said this aloud, and there's been 2 instances that I can actually say names that can verify this. David O'Bannon, Dylan Roberts, Kevin Wilson, Charles Washington, I think a few others. But I took an IQ test back when I was at Ole Miss, and they saw the results, and I scored 164.
I scored 170.
All right. Oh, okay. So you're a crazy genius like me. And then another time, Adam Aiken tried to test me one time. Adam, you know about this. We was down in Clarksdale, and he had me take an online test, and I scored 161. So it's like that's apparently where my brain is at. But now I don't say that in a bragging fashion because you take those tests that Mensa be hitting you up in the email. I remember Dylan Roberts, just to put you out there, Dylan. He got mad at me because I turned Mensa down.
What is that? What is mental?
It's a genius society.
Oh shit.
Just to say it in short. And, motherfucking brainiacs belong to that society. But I felt like, what I do in my life, I feel like if there's any quote unquote genius to my life, in my music, my art, and if people like that and they are really, they feel that, I feel like that's how I'm doing that's how I'm adding whatever, if I have some sort of higher level of thinking, that's how I'm applying it.
Yeah, thanks.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to act as if like, you know, I'm above anybody in this world because of that particular number. Because as, you know, Hunter was about to point out, there's layers to it. I remember there was a famous episode on Good Times where Michael, you know, he was considered the smartest kid and stuff, you know, in his family and, you know, amongst his peers. So they wanted to test that. And so some white testers came to his house and he didn't grade high. And they were like wondering why. So they got access to the test. And now he lived in the ghetto. All right. Now, this is speaking from a sociological IQ place. All right. One of the questions, for example, was like, if you have a coffee cup, do you A, set it on the table, B, set it on a coffee saucer, C, and some odd or another? And he said a table.
Fuck.
Because in his home, they didn't have coffee saucers.
Coasters.
So, or coasters
Yeah.
and things of this nature. So it's like, so you give him a strike out.
It could be
Bullshit.
biased.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
The cultural bias, and then in terms of like where your capabilities may lie. You know, you may walk away from an IQ test just because, say, you did bad in the math aspect of it, and you're not really a good math person, but maybe you did good in strategy, and you're like really good at strategy. But because you did bad in this other area, your overall IQ may be dumbed down. Because in this particular section of the IQ test, you didn't excel just to the level that we would hope that you would, that would garner you the number, you know, of a high IQ, but maybe one particular area. That's why I used the Rain Man analogy, for example. Social Q wise, he would have failed.
Yeah.
But goddamn it, he would be smarter than everybody in the room when it came to mathematics.
Once you get
know what
into
I'm saying?
social cues, that's more of the emotional quotient.
And see, emotional IQ is a thing too. Think about, like, okay, we got a podcast. We're all, you know, I mean, we're all talking over my sister and stuff like that, but you know, we all like to talk here.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, that is in my opinion, if I, you know, and I'm not an expert here, but I would just liken it to the conversation here that we have a high IQ in social engagement.
Yeah.
Like when I'm in a social setting, you could put me in any social setting. Put me in a room with gangsters, I know how to adapt. Put me in a room with some businessmen, I know how to adapt. Put me in a room with that crazy guy right there knowing this tree coming up in his mug. I can adapt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But in case in point, like I can adapt to my environment, and I think adaptability is a sign of high IQ in social settings.
Yeah.
It's like I tell Hunter all the time, how me and him work the best together is like he thinks about things that I don't think about, and I think about things that he doesn't think about. And if you took both of us, you could say one of us is smarter than the other, but really we just have different knowledge.
Depending on the setting.
Exactly.
Like if someone asks you, the both of you, a question about, you know, street terms or hip hop terms, you would excel.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Or if they ask something about something with book stuff that, you know,
Psychology.
Hunter, you know what I'm saying? Hunter would excel. Who's to say which one of y'all is smarter because of that?
That's what I was trying to say. Like, there's specialized genius, which is like where you get into different things, and then what I call myself the master of none, knower of all, or however that quote goes.
Oh no, jack of all trades, a master of none type
Yeah.
shit. Yeah.
Like, I know a little bit about everything, but then
You're the kind of person that wins on Jeopardy though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, one of them type of cats that could tell you the name of a fucking insect that lives on the fucking mountain of fucking Kilimanjaro, or wherever the fuck how you pronounce that shit.
I don't know about y'all. Maybe we can kind of talk about like I know when like I was a child.
Hey, wait, hold up. Stop right there before we say anything. Sis, what do you want to say since we've been talking over you?
You can go ahead.
It's kind of a question.
Okay.
Kind of a question for all of us, you know. And I just start with mine. I know I was the type of person like I played baseball. I'm baseball every day. You know what I'm saying? I'm not football. I don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? But like I'm focused on that, and that's like when I started playing Call of Duty, I played no other fucking video game but Call of Duty. When I started rapping, I don't do shit else but rap. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you're obsessive about what you do.
Super obsessive.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering, you know, kind of start with
Shy?
Shy.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Are you asking, am I obsessed?
Are you obsessive
Or-
about things that you do?
Or you more like a jack of all trades? Like
Are you like, for example, what he's saying, like, if you like something, do you just hone in on just that, or
Well,
do you
no,
find
I
yourself
mean-
getting into a lot of different things?
I mean, you know me. My whole life has been this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that you know, I've
I already know the answer to that. but I
Yeah,
just wanted you
I've
to-
had
yeah.
one focus for the last 25
But say
years.
this, Shy. Okay, you've modeled. That took a different way of thinking about things.
I modeled because it was still part of entertainment and it was still under the umbrella.
Facts.
And it was harder to try to get gigs up there. So this was a way of me to still kind of have my foot in the door, you know,
yeah. No doubt.
entertainment and all that kind of stuff. But yeah. So yeah, I would definitely say I don't know if I would call it obsessive, but it's definitely very much so focused and, just working hard.
I'm kind of like Scooby in the sense like, I get like that. I'll tell you where I get really messed up. If I like a song, I will listen to that song to the point where I'm disgusted by it.
Yeah, me too.
But it's like, but I love the damn song, you know what I'm saying? And I will listen to that motherfucker for, I'm actually literally in the process of doing that now. Teddy, if you know what I'm talking about, I've been listening to, God damn it, this guy's CD for a minute. Like, I love this guy's music, but I'm getting to the point now when I start hearing it, I'm like, man, I done heard this motherfucker 100 times.
Yeah.
And I did that to myself. It ain't got nothing to do with the artist. I done personally, and I think that's obsessive, and I think that's kind of maybe, dare I say, unhealthy?
Well, I do it too.
Because like, you brought up MacGyver the other day.
Yeah.
Literally last episode. Well, they revamped that show.
Okay.
And
I didn't know that.
I started watching it, the revamped version, which I want to watch the original. But he could tell you like for 3 or 4 weeks while I'm watching all 4 of the shows. That's all I'm talking about. I come over.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm watching this new show. It's like MacGyver, like and one thing that I do that is like very bad is like I put myself into those kind of shoes. Like I'll see MacGyver and I'm like, I start thinking like him.
Oh no, yeah, I know that. Getting back to what we were saying, like when I get obsessive about certain things, like okay, for example, if there's a certain topic, like say if I begin my week and I'm like, looking at alien videos, things about aliens. For the rest of that week, that's all I'm about. And I'm like you, anybody that talks to me that week, aliens, baby. But then let me fuck around and I haul into something else. Guess what? Bill's about to talk your fucking ear off about that for the next week or two. But it's in spurts where I just get insanely obsessive to the point where I almost don't even like the topic matter no more because I have indulged it so much.
Yeah.
Not other people bringing it to me so much. It's just like, let's don't do it. And then I wake up one day and I like hear the song or watch the video and I'm just like, there's nothing there because I've been sapped every bit of energy and soul and anything I can get out of it type thing. And I don't know, if any of you artists do that, please help me.
Well, one of the things I had to say about intelligence that I saw not too long ago was that extremely highly intelligent people usually do things on their own. Now, of course, we need friends and all of that, and to refreshing ourselves. But when you think about some of the most successful things, is when people went by themselves on their own.
Yeah, see, Shaw's a genius. She don't need us.
To truly think and get into their mind and solve their own problems. Because sometimes it's hard, especially a lot these days, to get multiple people to work and solve the same problem, But when you know you can do it yourself, and see, that's where a lot of genius come in. But you do need friends and you do need people to help keep you going.
No doubt,
but a
man.
lot of geniuses are very solitary.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla, I think, has a quote to that end. He's like, something to the end of like, if you want to find your true genius, spend time alone or something to that effect.
But like they also like geniuses, like what they gain in IQ, they lose in EQ. So they don't get the emotional cues that other people would get, and they find that annoying and unknown. So they were like, I don't really want to hang out with you because you are the unknown point. Like Sherlock Holmes is, except he is a social person. He is what you would call a high functioning sociopath. He has antisocial personality disorder and dislikes being around people, but you throw him in that situation, he's gonna mold to it.
Yeah.
A lot
As a
of
matter of
people,
fact, excel because he can read things that others can't.
Right. A lot of people are looking at that, and it's because their IQ is high. They have different views. It just might not be on the level of where they are, so they feel maybe better about. But like I was saying before, a lot of people do need that comfort of other people.
Let me ask y'all this: if you had a choice, God, as it were, was to come and ask you, would you, do you want to have a high IQ in book smarts, but your social skills will suck, or vice versa? You'll be able to socialize with anybody and pretty much probably be able to talk yourself in and out of anything, but, maybe you won't be able to crack an atom.
Social.
Yeah, social.
Social.
Because like how we were
Because
saying
you'll get so
before,
much further.
and you can bridge the gap, like the name of the show. You can bridge the gap of whatever you don't know.
Exactly.
And I guess that all goes to intent or drive, as it were, because it's like, you know, we're saying that, but we're artists, so our drive is to entertain people.
Exactly.
But what if we had the drive in us to want to be scientists?
Yeah.
Then maybe we
See,
would
like,
answer the other way.
I would
So
100% choose. I'd rather be book smart because I can always learn social cues.
But would
But
you argue
sometimes you
that?
can be a
I can
little
always learn.
I was just gonna say now, what if it's because of your social ineptability that you're not able to get a job because a person is not being able to read your potential because you're so socially awkward, but you may be the best man for the job.
So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you something that I'll probably cut out of the podcast, but
Don't do it, man. People need to learn.
Don't cut that now, man. This is unadulterated,
Okay.
baby.
okay. So I went,
We lied. Tell him, Dree.
when I was in therapy, I was diagnosed as a sociopath. Like I was diagnosed with having antisocial personality disorder
Got you.
and having those no emotions. But I went and like I was told that, and I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense. So I learned them. Would you like? Tori all the time calls me a sociopath just because I'm good at lying. Would you like if I had never told you that? Would you have ever believed her?
Matter of fact, I wouldn't have used that term for you. The term I would have used for you is introverted.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said sociopath because
Yeah,
see,
I don't-
sociopath would have said that you're the kind of person that you could hurt someone and not have any feelings
Yeah,
about
that
it.
takes a dark turn.
That's a darker turn. And I
Yeah.
don't see that in you. As a matter of fact, you literally expressed the other day that you don't want to hurt nobody.
Oh yeah, I
Because
hate
if this
being
big
called
motherfucker ever gets
sociopath.
mad, he's gonna hurt somebody, and we don't need that shit to
I
happen.
can definitely feel that because as outgoing as I am, some of the most introverted people are entertainers. And he's very outgoing, but I can be a lot more introverted, and you know, it's just I understand that. Sociopath, that's kind of weird. I wouldn't.
Well, let's say
I
like-
guess I would have to get to know you
Well,
more to.
that's-
Well, the
one of the
sociopaths
things.
that we usually like, when we dub that title on people, just to say it more succinctly, like, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the potential to be a killer and all these kind of things.
It just means you lack empathy.
Yeah, there are business people. Some of the most successful business people on this planet are sociopaths
But-
because they lack the empathy of wondering, like, these are the kind of people that if they have to fire 40,000 employees to ensure that their company stays afloat, they'll do it and not have any remorse about it. That's a sociopathic way of looking at things.
He'll
Whereas,
tell
like,
you-
maybe a lot of us, like, I'll tell you, if I had to fire 40,000 people, I probably would cry.
I hate
probably
firing.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm about to damage 40,000 lives, but there's motherfuckers that's like, oh man, that's a margin. That's
It's
a
a
margin.
number.
It's a number that inhibits us from making a better profit as a company. They fire them.
This is kind of what I was going into earlier. Like when I was, God, when did all that happen? When I was diagnosed with ADHD as well.
Like, probably third grade. I know.
So you was on Ritalin
I
and
was in high
shit?
school.
I used to, like, when he broke his leg, stand on his leg and laugh. Like, I was dark as a kid.
Yeah.
But this goes to say, like we talked about earlier, could you teach a sociopath to be a human?
Okay, with that said, now
Like,
let's go a little bit darker, but maybe this is getting more into psychopath, because psychopath is usually used as a darker version of the sociopath, as it were. Were you into harming animals when you were a kid?
Yeah.
You would have got a cat by the tail, swung them and thrown them
Probably
and shit
not
like
that.
that.
Probably not
Or
that.
like Ricky used to do, you remember he used to make that guillotine to cut off frogs' heads and shit?
Jesus
We knew a
Christ.
guy that made a fucking guillotine and would cut frogs' heads off late at night.
That-
Would go to a guy, yeah, in California, we lived in LA, and see, my sister's right here to vouch for me. Late night, they would go to the fucking, the sewers. And he made this little guillotine, and the frogs would come out at night and shit in the sewers. And him and a few guys would go there late night, and they made a guillotine where they would just go there, catch frogs, and cut their heads off with this guillotine.
That's
Some dark
fucked up.
shit. Most people just put fire.
I mean,
That's some dark
but
shit.
consider what I even said. The fact that this motherfucker was sitting in his house carving out a guillotine, like he made this thing.
Yeah, what was he thinking about?
You know, like he's,
Fucking-
ooh, yeah, when I'm finished, I'll be able to cut off frogs' heads. That's obviously what this motherfucker's thinking. You a psychopath if you do some shit like that.
I used to think about that, but I would never act on it. Like,
Well, there even is something to say about the thinking pattern. Now, I will say this. Now, maybe a lot of young boys have this in common, and maybe young girls too. When I was a kid, I used to do some shit that was fucked up. I used to get roaches and put them in fucking ant hills, so they could and watch them ants just jump that motherfucker and eat them all up. A lot of insects. I would just love putting fucking, a wasp or whatever, a spider even, and watch them ants just annihilate that motherfucker. was I a potential psychopath because I liked watching those insects be fucking obliterated by those ants? I loved it. I loved it. Not just liked it, I loved it. Am I sick? Am I sick?
That was a little sick, yeah.
Yo,
Okay, my sister verifies his brother is fucking sick.
it's crazy, yo, cause like
Or the magnifying glass on the ants. We've all done that, right?
no, I never did that shit, bro. Like,
No, that's some fucking horse shit.
Oh man, Scooby was a good boy, man.
Nah.
I did some heinous shit to
Nah.
insects when I was a kid.
This motherfucker was there when I poured gasoline down the anthill. He was helping.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Scooby trying to act like he a saint over
Nah, I
this
don't
motherfucking
remember
shit.
that, bro. I don't
Scooby
remember
and
that.
witnessed ant genocide up in this motherfucker.
Hey, yo, ask my girlfriend, bro. I don't even like to kill spiders.
He used to pee on the anthills. Don't even lie.
Oh, P, that was disrespect. At least I just killed him off and shit. He pissing on him,
Oh,
man.
man, I don't remember that.
Pissing on him to tell him it's raining.
I don't remember that.
But like that kind of goes to show that like, just because you like, I don't ever think I was, but just even if I was, you can learn how to not be. You know what I mean?
Okay, consider this, right? The young guys that grow up in the South, and they're trained by their fathers to learn how to hunt. If you can kill a deer, in some people's mind, that's considered cold-blooded murder, and in some other people's mind, that's hunting for food.
Yeah.
Now, when we discuss the mind of the individual that does that, depending on the perception, like think about the person that is against hunting, and they witness that. They may look at that person as like, oh, you're sociopathic.
Well,
but then the guy
But the
that is
guy's eating the meat.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or someone like Dano, it's just like, hey, I raised my sons like that. That kid's not crazy. He's actually a survivalist.
An example.
So now we got to talk about perception on what is considered murder. When a soldier comes back from killing a whole bunch of motherfuckers in the name of America, he's a hero.
But if he
fucking does that same thing, you know, to just a bunch of civilians, he's a murderer, a serial killer.
I'll put it in the same way. When you are like, I'll put it in the deer, and I mean, I'll even do the military analogy.
Mhm.
If you're going out killing a deer, thinking it's cold-blooded murder, it's cold-blooded murder.
Okay.
But, like,
Okay.
if you're going out and killing a deer because you need to, then you're hunting.
But now check
food.
this out, Hunter. Now you know, being from around these parts, that if not all hunters don't go out with a, you know, cold-blooded killer mentality. They're just going to hunt a deer. You get
And
what I'm
most of the
saying?
time
Like
they're getting
it's
it for
not
food.
it's not for the joy, as it were, of killing. But rather, like, I'm gonna get meat for the fucking winter, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
Let me give you an example. Like, you know, I wanted to go hunting like really, really bad for some odd reason because I think I seen my dad do it. You know what I'm saying? And like he didn't do it anymore. So my cousin took me. You know what I'm saying? We were about the same age, and you know we were at this hunting camp, and we were eating deer. You know. And then we go out to actually hunt, you know, and it comes time, you know what I'm saying? I shoot that motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? I'm in tears, bro, and I didn't know why. You know what I'm saying? I just felt so sad about it, and we ate it. You know what I'm saying?
No, what's the other story you told me about the mother?
When I shot that motherfucker, like, you know, and I did it again after I cried, after I killed that deer. I went and did it again and hunted, you know.
I'm sorry.
But like,
Scooby a goddamn killer, man.
Man,
Motherfucking psychopath.
It's-
But no, Scooby, he's not actually. He's kind of curtailing a little bit. Scooby told me a story where like he shot the mother deer,
And the baby was
the
right
baby
behind.
doe came back to check up on the mother
and I
deer.
pulled the gun up
Oh,
on the
that's
baby,
And
bro.
he pulled the gun, but you didn't shoot. He didn't shoot
I didn't
though.
shoot it, but it like just
Let me tell y'all something. Scooby will kill Bambi. He will fucking kill Bambi on your ass. All right?
Shit, 252 shit.
Ah, shit, Bambi killer.
But like then putting it into that
Scooby, let me
military,
get one of them, baby.
putting it into the military aspect of, and like, there, okay, so let me put this right.
I'm so glad we got you here, Shy.
Oh, yeah,
Like, I'm feeling so good that we're all here. Like, you know, instead of like, hey, Shy, no. Like, hey, oh, gosh, she's right here. You know what I'm saying? Good.
We got
But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Hunter.
But
Oh, and we got Abigail. Damn, Abigail said shit shouldn't be too serious for her today.
But like the military man goes to, if you sign up for the military to go kill somebody, that's fucked up. You sign up for the military to protect the people over here.
But would you not argue that that's just a way of conditioning yourself? At the end of the day, you still are killing.
You
And
still-
it's
yes.
all about the ideology of what you're killing for.
But now
like
here's-
in this case, you're killing
that's
for
what I'm saying.
American freedom.
But like, here's the thing: if you go, and it's totally different. If you go overseas and you're fighting in well, put Vietnam. If you're fighting Viet Cong back in 1963,
Yeah.
if per American military rules of engagement, the moment they lay their weapons down, you don't shoot. If you shoot again, I mean, you killed an unarmed person.
It's kind of like that other code of ethic where you're not supposed to shoot down medical, aerial shit.
Yeah.
Like a medical helicopter comes, the rules of engagement, you're not supposed to shoot it down. You know what I'm saying? Even though it does happen, but you're not supposed to.
And the same thing with it's another kind of thing. Like, unless shots are fired, you're really not supposed to shoot back.
Okay, now so the question is, if you're in World War II, now a Nazi soldier in his mind think he's doing the right thing for his nation. If he kills you, our nation will call that it's murder. Like a soldier killed us, but then they spin it over there that they killed one to ensure our shit. So what I'm getting at is, like, when we kill in the name of a so-called American democracy, is it not still murder?
It is still murder, 100%.
And is it justified because we assume that it betters and ensures our freedom?
Here's the thing: it's only justified if I got bullets flying by my head.
But see, we haven't, not since the Civil War has this nation imploded into itself.
But you could argue
we haven't woke up into that kind of war. Like, we don't wake up and it looks like the Middle East here.
That's what I'm
definitely not.
saying.
But
You
you
know
could
what I'm saying?
argue in Chicago, like the retaliation and the gun violence that's going on there is that motherfucker just killed my brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting back at him. Is that how
I feel you. Well, see, again,
Murder of anybody is murder. Like,
well,
killing
so
anybody.
when we get since this is all about psychology, right?
Yeah.
How does one define murder? Like, okay, for example, if I'm
That's
check
a
this out.
psychopath thing to say, though.
But check it out, right? Because again, if I go overseas and I'm fighting for an American cause, I come back and I'm lauded as a hero.
Thanks.
Like that sniper, and they came out with that movie about that sniper. He's, had more sniper kills than anybody in history.
He was fucked up. Bro.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know that story's fucked up, but okay, let's just take that aspect out of it, and I'm just lauded as a hero for killing 50 Nazi soldiers.
Yeah,
But if I shot 50 people, if I just went to Germany and shot and killed 50 people, and it wasn't in the name of American democracy, the fucking spin would be different.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, that motherfucker just went over there and killed 50 Germans.
Yeah.
But due to the fact that they had German Nazi regalia, now I'm a hero because I killed a Nazi soldier. Fuck that Nazi soldier. So what I'm saying is our perception of what we consider murder based on the life of the individual being killed.
No.
But I think we
Because
can't
if you kill a soldier in combat, it's considered, for all intents and purposes, right.
we can't justify violence. I don't feel.
It's still murder in the
But we won't celebrate it that way. You know what I mean?
At that point, like him coming back is a hero.
Sorry about all the smoke.
Because he protected people here. But it's still murder because he may not have seen it that way. Like,
well, let me say it like this, because I got me and my sister here both, and just like actually all four of us, we have military deep in our family and stuff. And this is not to take away anything that soldiers have done. I just want to make that clear because I have soldiers in my family that sacrificed themselves and in some cases died and all these kind of things.
And thank you
for that. It does not negate that. It's just since the topic is psychology, what I'm getting at is our societal perspective on what we consider to be heinous murder or the right plight.
So me and Hunter were actually talking about, people are exclaiming that something's about to happen in, society. And my thing is, I'm not fighting for fucking either side. I stand in the goddamn middle. Motherfuckers gonna have to shoot me. And, because the topic of the talk has to happen. And we watched the Dr. Hugh thing.
Oh, yeah. The thing about war is, you think about it, every war ends with people sitting down at the table talking.
Why can't we do that first?
The Civil War, Appomattox Courthouse. World War I, Treaty of Versailles. World War II, I don't know exactly where it ended.
No, that's a great point. That's a great
they
point.
all end with them sitting down and
Sitting
talking.
fucking Ulysses S. Grant, Robert E. Lee sat at a fucking table and rectified that shit in the Civil War.
So us knowing that, we can move smarter accordingly.
Okay, now this gets back now let's get into the psychology of leadership. Okay, And what I mean by that is what you're discussing there is these are two guys that, you know, in a lot of these instances where people came to the table and resolved conflicts. Okay, is it true what they say that, you know, you get the leader you deserve? Like, you know, everybody's tripping on what's going on right now and what is going on with our leadership. Do we deserve this type of leadership because of the way we are as a society?
Fuck yeah.
Is this our karma?
In my opinion, yes.
Is this like, you know, racism coming back to bite us in the ass kind of thing?
Think about like the psychology of Americans. It's like, yo, like we're gonna hit you first, you know what I'm saying? We the fucking big bad bully, and then like we have a bullying problem in America. We're fucking taught that shit, you know what I mean?
But okay, again, there's a fine line. Was it considered bullying when we considered ourselves, you know, when we considered there was merit to retaliation for 9/11? Like, should we have went to the Middle East and did what we did? Did it really solve anything?
No.
Because it created other factions, Al Qaeda and shit, and so on and so forth. And
it's like, why would
and then we find ourselves
we
in another
over
country.
We were over there
Afghanistan.
before 9/11. Desert Storm.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
here's the thing.
Very good point.
Here's the thing. Like, if you take Pearl Harbor and 9/11, for example, two of the biggest attacks on American soil.
Very true.
If we had not retaliated in 9/11, Pearl Harbor, the World War II probably would have lasted a little longer.
I agree. I fucking agree with that.
World War II also not saying war is a good thing, but it also kickstarted our economy again.
Yeah. Indeed.
But if we
the
had
Industrial
not-
Revolution.
If we had not retaliated, it would have been America's open. Come fuck with us.
Now, see, therein lies the argument when it comes to, you know, protecting our sovereignty and our freedoms and what we are willing to do for that. And that kind of brings it all the way back to around to where we're currently at in this current climate of our nation imploding in itself because of racial strife and police brutality and a whole bunch of other compounding issues. And we have come to a place now where we have to really genuinely ask ourselves where we want to go. I want to keep reiterating that because, you know, we spend a lot on what's going on. We're very educated to what's going on out here as a society. No one is oblivious to what's going on. We have to start asking the question of how do we get past it? We truly have to ask those questions now. You know, that's why when I get into conversations and people start talking about the obvious things that are going on and the obvious, you know, social strife that's in play, it's like, well, we all already know that. We have to figure out a way. We have to start creating a dialogue to like, well, what lies at that? And let's figure out a way to get past that. Because if we keep just spinning our wheels about the obvious, that, yeah, man, you know, black folks are systemically killed off by cops and blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Acknowledging it is a step, but we have to get beyond that step at this point. And that's all I'll say.
It's like Tori, she come from Amory, Mississippi. We watched them last night. It was 2 documentaries. One was about the Mike Brown case, which was strictly educational about what happened. One was Baltimore Rising. And that was about what the fuck we gonna do. It was about a ex-gangster coming together in the community and like, you know, how are we gonna change things? And that's like the biggest thing. And I'm glad you said that because it's been like, I've gotten confused at some points, you know, because some people are like, you know, like they're talking about it and it's all like, yeah, that's wrong with that. Yeah, okay, cool, bro. But if you're not gonna fucking talk about like how we're gonna fix it, then shut the fuck up.
Well, see, you know, I think that conversation becomes scary because therein lies admitting certain truths that a lot of us are still very uncomfortable to admit. I mean, if you consider the climate, for example, and I will say it's instigated on a lot of different sides, and you know, every side feels like they're emphasizing their point. Like, for example, the term that's going on today, when you know, a white woman just, you know, frivolously would call to the cops about some shit with black people, and they call them Karens right now. You know what I'm saying?
My mom's named Karen.
Yeah, your mom's named Karen. Sorry, Karen, Irby, you know. But there was various terms before they did that. They were just kind of like, you know, nicknaming them, you know, Central Park Amy and this and that and the other. They had all these various names and stuff. But you know what it essentially gets to is just like, you know, how do we correct? Well, it's kind of a broad question. Obviously, we're not going to answer it in this instance, but you know, that is the questions that we have to ask rather, is, you know, how do we create a society where a woman like that doesn't feel emboldened to the point where she feels like, well, if I call the cops on this black motherfucker, I can get him killed. Therefore, I have power. how do we get our society to not think that way?
And we want you to answer that question.
And if
in the
you,
comments.
yeah, like that's a broad question that we want to even engage you about, because this is a societal question. We don't have the answers here. We don't anticipate no one out there having the answers, but engaging each other collectively, we will fucking get the answer. Collectively, we will get the answer, because that ultimately is what happens. I mean, me and my sister wouldn't be able to sit here with these two right now if motherfuckers didn't start asking the question, are black folks really equal to us? If they didn't start creating that dialogue to say, hey man, what's up here? Are black folks just 3/5 of what we are? Or are they truly a consummate human being like we are? And so on and so forth. And there were very uncomfortable questions and such, to the point where we fought each other. Blood was fucking shed. Motherfucking lives were lost. But at the end of the day, here me and my sister sit, because those questions was asked and we was willing as a nation to fucking confront that. We are at that precipice fucking line again. We have to ask, where are we going from this point? Because guess what? If we don't ask that, we're going to wake up next week and there's going to be another motherfucking George Floyd. There's going to be another motherfucking Philando Castile. And me personally, I'm sick of that. I ain't going to say.
Well,
let's just say, goddamn it, I'm about the revolution if the shit get too serious.
I said that, being the change that you want to see, and not like if you, like, for example, if that, like you said with the Amy thing, if it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Praised, and it's condemned like it was, that's part of being the change. The fact that those memes are going around, that is part of being the change. And what everybody can do as a person is be a good person. You know what's right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part.
Like the first time I was just in terms of trying to understand the psychology, like for those of you that are, like especially those that are, non-black and not, African American or someone of color, what's going on in our brains is always, it's a compounded thing. And I'm going to give you an example from my own personal experience. All right. I'm in my 40s. Okay. The first time that I was called a nigger was in my single digits in Los Angeles, California, by a fucking street bum that spat at me as I walked to school at Selma Avenue and shit, a school that I went to in elementary in LA. Walking to school like I normally do. A fucking white homeless man was calling me a little nigger child and was spitting at me. And I remember other adults walking around me as this was going on and shit. I'm trying to avoid this guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm no more than fucking 8 or 9 years old. You dig? All right? That's the psychology that we're combating. That's the type of shit that when you see us frustrated, there's a lot of us. And mind you, I'm in my 40s. That ain't even talking about my parents and the shit that they saw and the stories that they passed on to me about the shit that they dealt with. You know what I'm saying? This is not some shit that goes back hundreds of years and shit. This is just recent history as far as that goes. Less than 100 years. It was less than 100 years ago that right here in the city that we're doing this podcast out of, James Meredith tried to fucking go to get himself higher educated, and they shot at him. And those fucking bullet wounds are still in the fucking Lyceum right now on that fucking goddamn campus. All right? Right there in our square and shit, they celebrate a goddamn Confederate soldier. You know what I'm saying? That the modern society that lives here saying tear that shit down. You know what I'm saying? So we gotta fucking start asking those uncomfortable questions and moving towards that direction, no matter how uncomfortable that motherfucking shit is.
Amen.
Because if we don't, we will repeat this shit. And we will indeed be a fucking insane society with a psychosis and shit.
Organized, plan, and mobilized. You know what I'm saying?
There it is, man. Because, I mean, enough is enough already, man. It's been enough a long time ago. It was enough with fucking Emmett Till. You know what I'm saying? With Mammy Till. It was enough then.
Keep it G, it was enough when they brought the first motherfucker over.
It was enough, man.
It should have been done then.
It was enough. But more so in the modern context, it's been enough for a fucking long time. For me and my sister, we remember fucking Rodney King and shit, and waking up to that shit. It's been time to change this shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is not a strike at those, that feel like, well, hey, I don't know what to do. I'm not black. I don't know how I can contribute. You know what I'm saying? Let it be known that this fucking shit ain't right. That's how you can help. You know, we ain't asking you to fucking pretend like, you know what it feels like to fucking be oppressed like we are. That ain't the fucking issue here. We ain't asking you to fucking understand that, because that would be the equivalent of me trying to understand what it's like to be a woman. I will never fucking understand that, so it ain't about that. But empathy fucking exists. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to fucking be the same thing of that person to empathize with their pain and their strife. Empathy is what we lack in this society, man. And that gets back to our psychological, theme here. It's just like, where did we lose that? That's why I was trying to paint the picture about how we love to hate in this society, in terms of even beyond the racial stuff, in terms of just being on point, about we all are unified in hating a certain thing, a certain celebrity, or a certain trend, and all this kind of stuff. And immediately airing the flames of hate. Like, why does it have to go to such an extreme thing as like hating? Yeah. Hell, can't you just dislike something? What happened to just dislike something? You have to literally hate it? Because hate is the most extreme.
We need to wrap this up.
Hey, let's wrap it up.
To that point, I would argue that, the knowledge is in yourself. Take a deep look inside of you and figure out why you hate something. You know what I'm saying? Why you hate in general? Do you hate yourself? You know what I'm saying? Is that why, you feel the need to portray that into the world? Because in my opinion, we're just a mirror reflecting how we feel about ourselves, a lot of times.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to say, just because y'all went on y'all's little rant, I didn't get to say it earlier. We were talking about like the war and like, is it considered murder and stuff. In 1914, there's a truce on the battlefield where German soldiers and American soldiers and British soldiers met in no man, not Americans yet, just British because it's 1914.
Yeah.
Met in the middle of no man's land on Christmas Day, had a party all day, all Christmas Day, and then went back in the trenches and started shooting at each other.
How could you do that, bro? How could you eat?
That is interesting. And now let's get into an even broader psychology, just for a second before we stop this, right? So, men in arms, they're fighting each other. And they all have their collective reasons why they're there to fight each other. But they saw the humanity of each other to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
they started singing Silent Night.
But the conditioning process of why they were there still had to play out. Yeah. And see, and again, that kind of brings it back to maybe as a summation to everything we've been talking about, the psychology of things and the fitting in aspect and all that. If you would have just left it up to them soldiers and they didn't have to abide by any superiors, and you said, hey, after that particular event, do y'all want to still engage in each other? They would have decided no.
And
see what I'm saying? But the conditioning of them being there in war, it's like, well, but damn, we're here. Our superiors still need us to do our duty and so on.
That's 6 months after World War I started in like June 18th, 1914.
Yeah.
That's 6 months after the beginning, and the war went on to happen for 3 more years.
Man, this is kind of on an off cuff. Oh, please let me remember it. Was it Rocky Mountain or Jersey? There was a major boxing match that happened the night before World War One, and I can't remember it now. I don't know if it was Marciano or Jersey Joe Walcott or something like that, but I saw it the other day, and it was like, somebody put in the commentaries, it's like, because they noticed the date. It was like, oh wow, unbeknownst to them, the very next day World War One would happen, and the Archduke and shit Ferdinand would be shot. It's like, wow, this is pretty interesting.
Think about being a part of something too. We're a part of the fucking world. We are all human beings on this earth. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're a part of. You know what I'm saying? One of my homies was telling me something, and I think it was about psychology, but it was like the levels of like human society. And like level 1 is like everybody working together for the betterment of the earth. We're not even a level 1 society.
Nah. That would be like Star Trek type shit where we're all fucking putting our resources towards ingenuity and things and trying to figure out the broader picture in terms of like, traveling the cosmos and that kind of thing, or, having a unified economic structure where, people don't feel rich or poor, but they feel provided for and things of this nature, Again, society's going to have to ask a lot of broader questions in the future in terms of sustainability because, healthcare is in the gutter. Race relations, I wouldn't necessarily say are in the gutter, but they're volatile because we are a better society in terms of what we can do racially speaking, as an integrated society, but there are obvious fucking issues. But you know, we have to just ultimately confront those realistic truths and stuff about ourselves and figure out how we're gonna get past it.
All right. On that note, let's get into the rapid fire questions.
Let's get into it.
For the first one, if you had to choose one animal to help you in a fight, what would you choose?
A lion, shit.
Let's see how your lion does against my whale, though.
Oh shit, a whale.
Shit, bro, you stay in the water.
Yeah, I'm saying y'all wouldn't even compare.
Yeah.
What about you, Sean?
I have to say a cat, some kind of
A
cat.
cat. You know, I saw somewhere where they said pound for pound, actually the domesticated cat is the best hunter on the planet.
Oh yeah, bro.
You know, I had to be catching moles and all that shit like that motherfucker be out here.
They stupid as hell, but they can hunt.
Oh shit. A motherfucking, a really pissed off badger. A really, really, really pissed off badger. Yeah, I think that motherfucker would make even a lion go, God damn, you fucking up my nose, man. Shit.
That'd be good fight.
What part of a kid's movie completely scared you?
Of a kid's movie?
Kids movie.
Okay, well, I don't really have a memory like that, but I'll say something that I'll make fun of myself that y'all can have much laughter about. I don't even know if you know about this, Shy, but like me and Shy, you know, in our youth, we lived in Los Angeles, and there's a, you know, Magic Mountain, which is an affiliate of the Six Flags amusement parks, and there's a Magic Mountain there. And so we went there and everything, and in this ride, you know, one of the rides was It's a Small World. You know, it's a small world after all. All right, so we go into the ride, there was this point where we go into this really dark cave, and then all of a sudden, all the lights come on, and there's all these little robotic figurines that are singing "It's a Small World" in unison, and like you're in this little like train like craft thing or whatever, and I look out and there's this little robotic thing, "It's a small world." That fucked me up. Why you gonna do that to children, having these little robotic scary ass figurines and shit singing "It's a Small World"? Man, y'all psychologically fucked me up, Disney World. Shit, or the Magic Mountain, damn it. And I'm like, like, you know, because the lights came on, it was dark when we first entered it, and then it comes on, and it was supposed to be something joyous. I mean, all these little figurines are singing "It's a Small World" after all, and it's supposed to be happy. That was the scariest shit ever, goddammit, you motherfuckers. Okay, there's my side, that's my trauma.
I don't think
got issues with a small world.
And I got issues with Small World like a motherfucker. Don't sing that song to me, I'll punch your ass out. It's a small motherfucker.
We'll pull up the Bill Jordan.
Hey B, I got this 45. Listen to this. It's a small. Shit. What about you, Sean?
I don't think I have one. You know, we grew up seeing Freddy Krueger and Jason.
I know, man.
So
Like we
it's
didn't see like normal shit like other kids.
Yeah.
We grew up watching horror films when we were in our
And
single
because
digits.
of that,
Same
not
with
too
us.
many things scared me. I don't think.
Matter of fact,
Especially
to this
for
day,
kids movies.
I haven't, Shy, me and you, well, maybe you have. I have never seen like Cinderella, fucking Snow White, all that Disney. I have never, the only thing I've seen all the way, I haven't even seen like, what is it?
Lion King, right?
Beauty and the Beast. Never seen that all the way through. I've never seen the Seven Dwarfs all the way through.
That's Snow White.
That's Snow White? See, look at that. I didn't even know that. What the fuck? Like
I've seen them all.
Oh, Shy, I didn't see them all.
Man.
What's your favorite?
But oh gosh, that's hard to pick. Maybe
It gotta be
the
Cinderella.
Hunchback. No.
Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Yeah. the
I
Hunchback.
don't know if it's a Disney movie, but Atlantis.
Oh, I haven't seen that one. Yeah.
But like it's not necessarily a kids movie, but it's more like a teenage movie. The fucking dog from the Sandlot used to scare the shit out of me.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. You know, now that I think about it, maybe I had it wasn't a fear, but I had this weird feeling when y'all seen Gremlins,
Yeah.
right? When they would pour the water on them and that shit would be bubbling on their back, that was kind of disturbing to
Yeah.
me.
The
You
Wizard
know,
of
the way that
Oz.
looked.
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz was scary?
Yeah, it was scary to me. Like, 'cause
Which part?
just like when
Monkeys.
that bitch was laughing.
The
Yeah,
witch of the fucking brew?
Man.
Yeah, I guess that could be disturbing. Flying monkeys and shit? Or was that the Wiz? You know, the Wiz had.
No, they had flying monkeys. In those
okay.
Yeah.
I love The Wiz, by the way. Oh, that was a great movie.
Man, damn. I just lost the question I was about to ask. Okay. I don't know. If you had to live in a different state, what would it be?
Cali.
Cali?
All day.
Well, me and Shada lived there before, so.
Fuck yeah, West Coast.
Oh
Alright.
gosh, I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, because Cali and New York is under the family belt here, like,
Different states.
and Chicago. God, we've actually been in all the cool cities already.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to live in Maine.
I couldn't live in Chicago. Too cold for me.
yeah, well, that's why actually we moved, because of that very
Florida,
reason.
that sounds great.
But the hurricanes.
Fuck, hurricanes ain't
Every
that
5
bad.
years, your property may be fucking taken away by a hurricane,
Nah.
fucking Tony.
I
It ain't that bad. Bro.
Hurricanes ain't that bad.
It was like in North Carolina.
Tornadoes are worse.
You
than
can't get
hurricanes.
fucking goddamn home insurance because of that shit, though, man. Your
Yeah.
house is destroyed, and that's it. You got to get another life.
We
Like,
have hurricane parties where we from. Like
I have to say, for me personally, New York. That's just New York City is
You
just
would vibe in New
fucking. Man, hell yeah. New York all day, goddamn. My sister and shit represent Harlem, baby, uptown, baby.
Hey,
You know what I'm
Shout out to
saying?
A$AP
Now,
Rocky,
you know, I
man.
mean, that's within the nation now. If I was to look at the world, I don't know.
God, in the world?
In the world.
I probably want to live in London.
Man, all that fucking rain.
Ibiza.
Man, it
yeah.
rains like a motherfucker in London, man. And shit, fuck London.
Man.
I'm sorry, London. I didn't mean to say that.
British culture, like the history, like
You gonna be eating bagels and shit all the time?
All this Smith and shit, like-
Oh, T-Tar. Oh. Okay, for me, I don't know. Maybe go to fucking like Egypt, check out the pyramids. You know what I'm saying? Or
See, the
something,
good thing
man.
about like living in London is like you're like not far away from anything.
Well, that's true.
It's
It's kind of like in the heart of a lot of shit.
It's like an hour and a half away from Paris or something like that, or like a $50 flight to Paris. You know, it's not.
This
crazy.
locale is kind of primo. I give you that. You know, I really don't know because there's a lot of cities I don't know about that I would like to imagine going. Like I've had this thing about wanting to go to Morocco, but I don't know fucking nothing about Morocco. I just would like to go though, you know, and that's like in Africa, like the northern part of Africa. I don't, you know, but I would like to see it. I've been having these fantasies about it and these weird instances where people would mention it to me, and I'm like, I think I need to go to Morocco one
Yeah,
day.
that'd be hard.
And guess what I heard about it? Apparently they got great food.
Ooh, yeah, bro. Hell
You know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I need to take my skinny ass over there and get down, man. What about you, Shai? Where do you want to live?
Oh, that's so hard.
As far as the world goes.
Yeah, because I fell in love with South America. So,
More so than Southeast Asia?
yeah.
Oh, Shai,
It
you
was-
saying a lot because, you know, we had a good time in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it was just maybe just.
That Spanish flavor.
Yeah, I love the culture and I love just the whole scenery. I mean, had everything out there, beaches, mountains.
Yeah, my sisters, you got her bro over here on the world travels and stuff. I got Southeast Asia, but my sister done been to France and fucking goddamn it, Italy and, you know, Brazil. She's the world traveler and shit. But I got you on one. I've been to Canada.
You've been to Jamaica. You've been to Jamaica.
Oh, and I've been in Jamaica. Yeah, I've been in Jamaica, but you know, I was kind of making fun of myself by Canada because you can't really compare Canada to the places. I'm sorry, Canada. But come on, man, you ain't fucking goddamn Rome, Italy. I mean, you know.
I'd probably say like Sicily or
Rome would be a
Ibiza.
good place to live in.
I mean, seeing the Coliseum, man. Come on now. You know.
Anywhere in Italy. Italy's a very cool country.
Yeah, Italy's beautiful.
You know what? I actually would like to go to Ireland.
I do too.
You know, because they got lush fucking green fucking shits like the way the land, the topography is really beautiful and stuff. You know,
Go drink
Sweden
over there.
and stuff. If I was to go to the European places, because I'd like to go to a lot of different places, African places, you know, throughout Africa, the continent, you know, South America. I don't think I would want to go to those really cold European places though.
bro.
Like I ain't trying to go to Kazakhstan, and, you know what I'm saying, where it's way the fuck below zero, and they can have that shit.
I'm a beach bum, yo. Like anywhere with a beach, I'm cooling, and I'll probably stay there my whole life.
You know, like those people that like they call them polar bears, the people that can like go to the Arctic and go in those baths, or you know what I'm talking about? Like it's
bro.
outside, you know, they carve it out of, you know, outside and they like go in it, but it's like Arctic cold. But these motherfuckers will get in the
swimming
water
in
and
it,
shit, and
yeah.
you like, you know, hanging out in it like it's a damn jacuzzi, and it's like, yeah, you are a polar bear.
Yeah.
God damn. Because most people would suffer from hypothermia.
I want to know what's going on in your psychology.
Yeah. Like, what's going on in your fucking brain to take that to the temperatures?
Alright, so for the last one, very simple. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Damn, bro. I was gonna say vanilla. That shit just.
Now, French vanilla is fucking the
Yeah,
shit. I
definitely.
love French vanilla.
It's got to be French vanilla.
Oh, it's hard to pick.
Man, Rocky Road all the way.
I knew somebody was going to
Road,
say Rocky
yeah.
Road. I knew someone was going to say Rocky Road.
I love
What about
Rocky
chocolate
Road.
chip? And what about
I'm
the...
surprised
cookie
he
dough
didn't
fire.
say.
Man.
I'm surprised he didn't say cookies and cream.
And see, you know, I was thinking of something else, but I was thinking of sherbets. Like, I'm a big fan of orange sherbet. But that's not, I guess, an ice cream. Or
I don't even see sherbet anymore.
I like birthday
Yeah,
cake
yeah.
flavor too. That's a birthday cake.
Birthday cake is good, yeah. And there's actually, y'all said Rocky Road. There's a fudge Rocky Road. You ever had that? It's, you know, it's Rocky Road, but with more fudge in it and stuff. Oh, there you go, Tori. Oh, there she goes. She
Our
might be
grandma like works at a place on the beach that makes fudge, like handmade fudge. It's
Yeah,
really
now we
good.
got to be slipping here. There are a lot. There's 31 flavors, right? Like,
See, like, I'm such a creature.
what about what about the ones with like the ice creams that are candy bars?
They're good.
Or got candy bar chunks in them, like the Snicker bar ice cream or
I have to-
M&M ice cream.
I like keeping it simple.
Like keeping it simple, not all that shit.
Like
you
if
know?
At
At least nobody said mint chocolate chip.
Ask her.
If you say
I-
mint chocolate chip, you got
No. We ain't talking mint. No, straight up chocolate. Just for me, just straight up chocolate ice cream. And you got me, goddammit. Like, yeah.
Are y'all the type that when y'all go to like a restaurant, y'all order the same thing, or do y'all like order different things every time?
I'm
you
the
go?
same thing, motherfucker, because I don't like to take risks. Every time I take a risk, the shit don't taste good.
I
You know what I'm
know.
saying? But I go to, the China Roll here in town. I'll do certain things, and I'll get certain things that I like. I'm like, I like the romaine noodles. I like the General Tso chicken. And I have my patterns. I'm not gonna deviate and be like, oh, I never had that. When I'll add that. No, that ain't me. That ain't
See,
me. I'm too scared.
sometimes like because I am a chef, I gotta try new stuff.
Yeah.
But like I go to McDonald's, I get a plain hamburger. Like I hate shit on my burgers.
Really?
Like
I don't like pickles and tomatoes.
I get a plain McDouble every time I go to McDonald's. Just the burger.
So
and
wait a minute
cheese.
now. Are you the type of person when you say experiment? So you're gonna eat like tongue, lingua,
Oh, hell yeah.
You're gonna eat octopus
Mhm.
and shit.
I gotta know what's
you'll
good.
eat fucking monkey brains.
Probably.
God damn, this
That's
man. He gonna
that
eat
shit.
monkey brains, y'all. You heard it right here, BTG.
See, but you gotta know, like my dad always hates on me for getting a plain burger, and I'm like, but I know what other people like because I've tried so much stuff.
And at the end of the day, do we truly know the mysteries of the hot dog?
It's the same.
What is inside of a hot dog? That'll be a whole other story in itself. I'm gonna say that it's like raccoon assholes, fucking like the nose of a cow, and probably pieces of a possum.
Hey, but that's where we gotta end it on raccoon assholes.
All right, y'all. This has been another great episode of Bridging the Gap with Bill.
Shy.
Scooby.
Chef Matt.
And this has been episode 15, talking about what's on your mind, psychology.
Extra long episode because it's the first time all four of us have been in the same room.
Indeed, we got Shy in the house, Cheryl Perry. That's right, you know.
Hey, yo,
And-
I'd like to end it with a prayer though before we get into
Ah, Scooby, this spiritual
Man,
shit,
bro.
man. Nobody got time to be
We
doing no
ended it
spiritual
on
shit, man.
assholes.
Take your ass to church and do all that
Yeah.
shit. We ain't doing that right now.
Okay. I like to though, you know what I'm saying?
No, let's go into a prayer, y'all. Lord bless us. Nah, man, look, we
All right,
good.
all
We
right.
good. You can do that shit in your private time.
Okay.
All right. But at any rate, Bridging the Gap, last episode. Now, but that's Scooby. Now, do the other little shit you be doing.
The social medias.
Yes.
So you can follow me at Scooby the Kid.
Follow at Bridging the Gap at Bridge the Gap 77 because he forgets that all the time.
Follow
Chef Mac at Chef Mac 1523.
At Bill Perry Jr. on Twitter and at Bill_Perry on Instagram.
Cheryl Shy Perry.
And is that all our media sites?
That's it.
Yeah. And one love, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Keep your heads up.
One love. And I was kind of picking up my boy
Yeah,
Scooby there. He's
yeah,
well into
I already
it.
know, man.
Oh, wait a minute. God
Yeah,
damn it. You know,
right.
since this girl ain't did nothing, come on, baby. Come on over here and do your thing. Bridging the Gap. All right, there we go. One love, y'all.
So it's me at the end. We just finished the wrap on episode 15. And
Bridging the Gap.
I'm going to do my normal spiel.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow all of our social medias.
Little bit.
Make sure you follow Bridge the Gap social media.
You
All of
dig?
them are on the screen. Make sure you tweet me and the Bridge the Gap Twitter. And nobody has, so I'm getting on you. You got to. So that I don't have to struggle with the rapid fire questions like I do every time at the end because I'm running low.
Yeah.
Other than that, if any of y'all have anything to say to them for the ending,
Be-
special word, neuron, type neuron in the comments.
Be mindful of your flatulence and when you fart.
Alright, so it's Chef Mac here. I'm literally finishing up the edit on the podcast. It's currently 12:33. That's how much I care about this podcast. I put into work. But anyway, I just wanted to remind you to make sure you subscribe, you ding-dong that notification bell, drop a like rating, leave a comment on this video. You know, the special word is neuron, so comment neuron in the comments. And then go check out my, that's the wrong month, oh no it is, My Bro on June 6th. The link will be in the description when it comes out. But it is a video shot, edited, directed by me, song by Scooby the Kid on Scooby the Kid's YouTube channel. So I hope to see you type neuron in the comments there too, just to fuck with him.